Anyone who has ever laid eyes on this seed has met their demise, yet I have swallowed it into my belly, silently gestating it for 18 long years. This is because my father, before he passed away, gave me a final instruction. I must wait for the day the seed within my body germinates, for on that day I will undergo a complete transformation, shedding my old self to be reborn. However, until that seed begins to sprout, I must never utter a single word. If I were to open my mouth, I would reveal the aura of the seed, drawing the gaze of the heavenly Tao and inviting an immediate, unavoidable calamity. That is why for the past 18 years I have not spoken a single syllable. To the outside world, I am merely a mute from birth, but on the very day before the seed was to germinate, an event occurred that defied all my expectations. I would rather die than marry Zhang Fan. Xu Yining gripped her longsword tightly against her own throat. Tears of indignation streamed down her cheeks, one drop after another. The great hall fell into immediate, chaotic disarray. Yining's sister, please do not be rash. It was father who was wrong. I should not have forced you. Xu Zhongyan was so terrified that his heart felt as if it were caught in his throat. He hurried to console her with frantic, repetitive pleas. But if you break this engagement, all of Guizhou City will gossip, claiming our Shu clan to be people who repay kindness with ingratitude. Xu Yining's expression shifted violently, and she stomped her foot in distress, shouting, I do not care. Even if I have to die, I will absolutely not marry him. My reputation cannot be discarded just for that. Father, you must find a way for me, or perhaps… Xu Zhongyan felt a headache so piercing it threatened to split his skull. His gaze subconsciously flickered toward me, standing in the shadows. Though I possess a handsome and refined appearance, I am nothing but a piece of trash with severed meridians, and furthermore, a mute unable to speak a single word. Meanwhile, Xu Yining is a prodigy with a grade 6 spirit root, destined to soon become a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. It was then that Wang Yingfeng sighed softly, Husband, if there is truly no other way, let Yoren take Yining's place and marry into the family. The eyes of everyone in the room turned simultaneously toward the slender young girl standing there. Xu Yuran is the daughter of a concubine in the manor, and therefore she holds no real status within the Shu clan. Father, I still wish to stay by your side to serve you. I beg you, do not marry me off to another place. Xu Yuran pleaded in helpless, choked sobs, but Xu Zhongyan stepped forward and clamped his hands firmly onto her shoulders. Yun Hian, the future of this Hua family rests entirely upon your younger sister. Please, child, listen to your father. Could you take her place and marry Zhang Fan instead? Seeing him still hesitating, Hua Zhongyan suddenly dropped to both his knees. Must you force this father of yours to kneel and beg you? Father, please don't do this. I will do it. I will marry him. Is that enough? Hua Unyan scrambled to pull him to his feet, her eyes brimming with a profound sense of injustice. Hua Zhongyan appeared as if a weight of 1,000 pounds had been lifted from his shoulders, and he turned toward me. Xiao Chen, what is your opinion? I stood in the shadows, coldly observing it all. From the moment Hua Dining used the threat of death to force their hand, until this plan for a substitute bride was proposed, everything from start to finish was nothing more than a performance orchestrated by them. They were merely exploiting Hua Unyan's kindness to manipulate her. Unable to bear watching this girl suffer such undeserved grievance, I took up a brush and scribbled a note. Uncle, there is no need to make things difficult for Unhian any longer. The Hua mansion has provided for me for the past 10 years. The debt of my life being saved long ago has already been repaid. Let the marriage contract be annulled as of today. My father passed away 3 years ago. Within this Hua family, I have long since realized how quickly the tea grows cold when one is no longer of use. While Hua Zhengyan was overcome with manic joy, Wang Yingfeng feigned earnest concern to dissuade Xiao Chen. How could we possibly do such a thing? This engagement was established by your father and the old master himself. If the old man were to return and discover we had torn up the agreement, none of us in this house would be able to bear the consequences. If you truly remember the grace the Hua family has shown in raising you, then marry Unyan. From now on, we shall all be one family. A flash of sinister intent flickered in his eyes. Only by marrying Unyan to a useless cripple like me could he completely sever her future prospects and secure opportunities for his own biological daughter. I looked toward Hua Unyan, who was shedding tears, and sighed inwardly, knowing that if I simply left, she would only suffer even more cruelly at the hands of this wicked woman. Back then, when I was bedridden with a severe illness for 7 days, it was she who braved all hardships to watch over me by my bedside, helping me survive that tribulation. In the end, I was left with no choice but to take up the brush and write the word, agreed. Unhian, quickly take Zhang Chen to have a new set of wedding robes fashioned. You two shall be wed in 1 month's time. In that dilapidated room, Hua Nian took a small cloth bundle from the corner, inside which lay the meager scraps of silver she had saved over all these years. He sighed, whispering, Little mute, in truth, you should never have agreed to be with him. They only forced you into this marriage to avoid the reputation of being ungrateful. Once my sister successfully enters the Qingyun sect, they will certainly find every possible way to cast you aside. He pressed a pouch of coins into my palm and said, Take this money and leave the 2 residents at once. Leave Guizhou City behind. I no longer wish for you to endure these days of hardship alongside me. I quickly wrote on a piece of paper asking him, And what of you? This place is my home. Even if they treat me poorly, I absolutely cannot abandon it. He stifled a sob, doing his utmost to warn me that once I reach the outside world, I must never trust strangers recklessly. Do not eat what they offer you, and do not drink the water they place in your hands. Furthermore, do not let anyone discover that you are mute, or they will surely find ways to bully you. Do you understand? The sight of little mute made my heart soften in an instant. I stepped forward, gently stroking his head, and told him, from now on, you should call me your husband. Suyurain looked up in shock, his eyes widening in astonishment as he stammered, You can speak? So it turns out you are not actually mute? I have never once claimed to be mute. I clasped my hands behind my back and looked out the window. Suddenly, two thunderous cracks echoed across the vast sky. Startled and flustered, he asked, Why would thunder strike so suddenly when the weather was perfectly calm? This is the reason. The moment I speak, the aura of the seed begins to leak out, provoking the wrath of heaven. For 18 years, I have strictly followed my father's final command, but today, for the first time, I refuse to watch him suffer any further injustice. I gently took his hands and said, I am not going anywhere. I intend to stay here and take you as my wife to protect you for the rest of my life, I said, causing Suyurain's cheeks to flush a deep crimson. He pulled his hand back, softly scolding, You fool, stop spouting such arrogant nonsense. Your spiritual roots are even inferior to mine. I only smiled, offering no further rebuttal. Tonight is the final night for this seed to begin its germination. When tomorrow's dawn breaks, I shall be like a In this world, there shall be no more talk of the useless. Believe in me, Suyuran said, looking straight into my eyes with unwavering resolve. After a long moment of contemplation, she once again pressed the pouch of coins into my hand. Then take this silver as a betrothal gift to bring me home. A boom resonated, not from the heavens in a thunderous strike, but from the erratic pounding of my own heart. I had never imagined that a woman would offer me her entire life's savings. To think she would want me to use those very funds as a dowry to marry her. She gently adjusted my robe, her touch carrying a faint scent of jasmine. She spoke softly, Why are you still standing there stunned? Uncle Jiang lived his whole life with integrity and poverty. He left you nothing. I only hope these meager savings can be of some help to you. She was clearly struggling to provide for herself, yet in her heart and her eyes she was entirely consumed by her devotion to me. I could no longer suppress the emotions surging within me, and I reached out to pull her slim waist into a tight embrace. I whispered, Perhaps our union began as an accident, but the outcome is undoubtedly a choice I will honor. Meeting me was the greatest fortune of your life. She lay nestled in my arms, her mind completely blank, only regaining her senses a moment later to push me away in a panic and run off to hang the laundry. Watching her retreating figure as she fled, I set the coin pouch down and declared to myself with absolute conviction, How could I allow my wife to live in such humble and meager conditions? Yuran, I will certainly bring you home in a manner that is truly glorious. Thunder rolled across the sky once more. I looked up coldly at the heavens, challenging it. Strike if you dare. After tonight, you will never have such an opportunity again. In the back courtyard, Lu Zhen knelt before Wang Yingfeng, his expression one of desperate anxiety. He roared, How can you marry cousin Yuran to Zhang Fan, to that useless trash? I implore you to rescind this order. Please, give her hand to me instead. As a genius possessing a third-grade spirit root, at only 20 years of age, Lu Zhen had already reached the 5th level of the qi refining stage. Wang Yingfeng, seeking to stabilize the current situation, coldly refused him. Zhener, Yuran marrying Zhang Fan is a grave matter concerning the future of the Shu family. In all other matters, I may indulge your whims, but in this I will not permit you to be reckless. One could clearly see that Lu Zhen's face was filled with indignation. With a sinister expression, he added, My aunt only forbids you from obstructing their marriage. She never said you couldn't take action after the wedding. Should Zhang Fan happen to meet his end by heaven's decree, would it not be perfectly legitimate for you to bring Yuran into your home then? I understand, thank you, aunt. Lu Zhen's sorrow immediately turned to joy as he hastily offered the platter of refreshments. Aunt, this is the famous snowflake cake, a specialty of Bitch Liu City. It is my absolute favorite, and I brought it back specifically as an offering for you. Wang Yunfeng chided him lightly. You and your silver tongue, before instructing him, you may withdraw, but do not forget to rise early tomorrow. I will personally escort you to the testing tower to verify the rank of your spiritual roots once more. Zhen bowed his head in obedience, but the moment he stepped out of the residence, his face twisted into an expression of extreme malice. Trash, I shall reclaim that which Jiang Fan has defiled. I never imagined that old woman could conceive of such a scheme. I, Lu Zhen, only desire what is of the highest caliber. Once tomorrow's assessment is complete, I will surely seize Shu Yuran back in the eyes of all the world. At daybreak, I paced incessantly within my cramped room in the west courtyard, my eyes bloodshot and weary. Why had the sun not yet seen fit to reveal itself? To wait this very moment, I have endured 18 long years of patience. As the moment for the seed to finally sprout drew near, I was so tense that I could not close my eyes for a single second throughout the night. My father would surely not deceive me, would he? Is this seed truly as miraculous as he claimed? Will it truly be able to cleanse my marrow, temper my bones, and allow me to be reborn? I drew a deep breath to dispel the anxiety churning within my heart. Suddenly, a streak of golden light pierced through the clouds, shining directly onto the windowsill. Almost at the same instant, I heard a crisp, resonant snap echoing from within my own body. I realized that this must be the sound of the seed's shell cracking. The seed had finally germinated. After 18 years of hiding and humiliation, I have finally arrived at this day. To break through to the foundation establishment stage, I must pair this with the appropriate mental cultivation technique. Mental cultivation techniques are far more essential and precious than mere offensive manuals. Major factions treat such techniques as their sect's most guarded treasure. The testing tower remains the only opportunity for commoners to obtain a true cultivation manual. Yet the difficulty required to pass is immensely daunting. I looked at my own transparent spirit roots, my heart devoid of even a ripple of resentment. As the crowd entered the tower one by one, he intentionally assigned Lu Zhen and me to adjacent secret chambers. Lu Zhen, brimming with confidence, turned to me with a sneer of contempt. Just you wait, do not let my true spirit root rank frighten you later. What he cared for was achieving a third-grade superior rating and securing his status within the Shu family for the future. I casually inscribed a few characters onto the paper. Then keep your eyes open and watch. Inside the secret chamber, a crystal measuring device engraved with 9 distinct colors hovered in midair. I took a deep breath and gently pressed my hand against it. The resonance of spiritual energy surged forth in waves, instantly surpassing the red and orange markers. Moments later, the ripples struck like a tiger descending the mountain, piercing through the yellow threshold and slamming forcefully into the green mark. The green color, representing 4th-grade spirit roots, meant I had already secured victory over Lu Zhen. Yet those waves showed no signs of stopping. The cyan and azure markers lit up in quick succession. 6th grade. I had already reached the level of Shu Yining. Immediately after, the purple and 7th grade markers flared to life, followed by the 8th grade. My heart felt as if it were suspended in my throat. This had shattered every historical record in Guizhou City for as long as anyone could remember. Finally, the ripples exerted all their remaining power, surging directly toward the highest threshold. The 9th grade white rank, a level that existed only in legends. My pupils constricted and a wave of wild ecstasy instantly surged within my heart. Yet, the ripples seemed unwilling to stop. With a flash, they shot past the standard scale, flying straight out of the secret chamber. I stood frozen in place, stunned. What exactly was this supposed to be classified as? At the very moment the ripples erupted from my chamber, Lu Zhen was shouting at his own crystal device in the room next door. Rise, you wretched thing, rise. His ripples were stuck at the 3rd grade medium level, just a fraction away from the superior rank. This meant he would be completely denied the core resources of the Shu family. However, the surge of energy released from my chamber swept across his room. That overwhelming surplus pressure dragged his crystal device along with it, forcing it to rank up frantically. From green to cyan, and finally even the purple mark was surpassed, coming to a halt at a pristine white. The Tower Master, who had been lazily in the 3rd secret chamber, is the young miss of the Chu family, Chu Dinding. In the 7th secret chamber there is a 1st-grade, low-tier spiritual root. There is also the young master of the Lu Merchant Guild, Wang Dong. Originally, he possessed a 1st-grade, high-tier spiritual root. He was inwardly sighing, as the talent in this batch was truly sparse. Suddenly, Lu Zhen's secret chamber erupted with a brilliant white radiance that pierced the heavens. The Tower Master was so startled he tumbled from his seat, his voice trembling as he exclaimed that a 9th grade had emerged. In the blink of an eye, a pillar of pure white light thrust through the 9 layers of azure clouds. Inside the Shu mansion, Shu Dining, who had just broken through to the 9th level of Qi refining, was sitting in meditation. After all, she possessed a 6th-grade spiritual root. Such a rapid cultivation speed was only to be expected. But when she saw that beam of light surging toward the heavens, her expression changed and she gasped, "Father, what on earth is that?" Xu Zhengyan was just as terrified as his daughter. Could a world-shaking spiritual root truly exist in this world? He recalled the rumors in ancient texts. An 8th-grade spiritual root would manifest a black radiance. If so, could that white radiance be none other than the 9th grade? Su Dining bit her ruby lips, as someone so arrogant she could never accept being left so far behind by her peers. She cast aside her sword and rushed toward the spirit-testing tower, thinking, I must see who exactly this person is. Across all of Guizhou City, the appearance of a 9th-grade spiritual root and that pillar of light had thrown everything into chaos. Martial artists flooded toward the spirit-testing tower in a frenzy. Even several old ancestors who had been in seclusion for years broke their cultivation to emerge. Inside the spirit-testing tower, the martial artists participating in the examination were crowded around Lu Zhen's stone door, every one of them struck speechless by the shock. The tower master muttered like a madman, I have witnessed a legend with my own eyes. This is the same type of spiritual root possessed by our pavilion master of the Tianji Pavilion. A youth, his eyes filled with admiration, asked the tower master. The 9th grade must surely be the strongest in the world, right? The tower master glared at him, let out a cold snort, and scolded, Nonsense, the 9th grade is naturally the strongest. Then he paused for a moment, his tone suddenly becoming vague and uncertain. In truth, there exists a type of spiritual root in this world that far surpasses the 9th grade. It is known as the infinite spiritual root. The Tower Master spoke with reverence of the infinite spiritual root, which is formless and intangible, possessing a pure transparent hue. This type of spiritual root is 100,000 times more powerful than the 9th grade, yet it is a spiritual root that exists only in mythological lore, and in reality it could never possibly appear. Seeing the youth still wearing an expression of delusional longing, the Tower Master spoke with a sneer of contempt. Do you truly think that you possess an infinite spiritual root? The 9th grade is a realm that you will have to look up to for the rest of your life. Be grateful for the rare opportunity to stand face to face with a 9th grade prodigy such as this. Once he is fully matured, I fear you will not even be worthy of a single glance from him for the rest of your days. Listening to every movement from within the adjacent secret chamber, doubts began to stir within my heart. If Lu Zhen truly possesses the divine talent of the 9th grade, how could he have wasted 10 long years at the Shu family, to the point where he was not even the equal of Shu Yining? While I was lost in contemplation, a brilliant azure light suddenly erupted from the spirit crystal. As the radiance faded, 2 cultivation manuals were revealed. These are the techniques bestowed upon me by the upper realm. A wave of frantic joy surged within my heart. Upon closer inspection, I realized, could these be the legendary high-grade imperial cultivation techniques? They were indeed the Qingfeng True Scripture and the 7-Star Sword technique. In those years when Xu Yining possessed a 6th-grade spiritual root, she could only bring back a low-grade imperial manual. Then what level is my aptitude exactly that I am worthy of such noble rewards? With the legendary Wuji spiritual root protecting me, combined with the cultivation of these 2 peerless secret manuals, breaking through to the next realm will be nothing more than a matter of time. I carefully tucked away the 2 precious manuals, then slowly pushed open the stone door and stepped out. The clamor of the crowd surged around me like a tide, feeling utterly stifling. So that is Zhang Fan? He gave me quite a fright. I truly thought it was Lu Zhen about to emerge. It seems that in this assessment, Zhang Fan once again failed to manifest any spiritual roots. Separated by only a thin wall, one is a 9th-grade genius, a rarity in this world, while the other is a base, talentless piece of trash. The gap between them is truly as vast as heaven and earth. The Shu clan is indeed a strange and peculiar place. Spending 10 years living under another's roof as a guest, they were somehow able to raise both a useless cripple and a true dragon capable of standing proudly over the world. I merely stood there coldly, not bothering to argue with these opportunistic fools. At this moment, Xu Zhongyan and his daughter hurried over. Zhang Fan, are you here as well? What on earth is happening? Xu Ming bit her crimson lips, questioning him with mounting urgency. I picked up my brush and calmly wrote a few lines on a slip of paper. Lu Zhen has been verified to possess a grade 9 spirit root. Impossible. This simply cannot be true. Li Ning's complexion turned as pale as parchment, his disappointment so profound that tears welled in his eyes. Seeing his utter despair, I casually scribbled a few words of comfort. Remain steadfast in your cultivation and quietly await what the future holds. He glanced at the note, and in a fit of shame-fueled rage, he shouted, You take pleasure in watching me weep, don't you? You believe that because I broke off our engagement, I am now suffering retribution, don't you? You think too highly of yourself. I am a genius with a grade 6 spirit root, and I am still 100,000 times stronger than a talentless trash like you. I truly had nothing left to say. Acts of kindness are often repaid with ingratitude by those who cannot discern true intentions. By now, the sect master had already traded his previous demeanor for a fawning, obsequious expression before Xu Zhongyan. Brother Xu, congratulations, truly congratulations. Even City Lord Yi Jifeng rushed forward to offer his blessings to the patriarch of the Xu family. This is a joyous and momentous occasion. The Xu manor has truly birthed a heaven-sent dragon. Wang Yingfeng beamed with pride, gloating to her husband, my lord. Back when I insisted on bringing Zhen into the Xu family and nurturing his potential with all our heart, what was it that you said then? Xu Zhongyan, his face filled with shame, pulled her into an embrace. It was my own lack of foresight. Thank you, my lady, you are truly my lucky star. Only through you were we able to secure a peerless talent like Zhen for our Xu family's future. Wang Yingfeng was immensely satisfied with herself. Is that not so? The grade 8 genius from Bayan City years ago reportedly joined the Tianji Pavilion directly and eventually rose to become the deputy pavilion master. Our Zhen is a grade 9 genius. The Tianji Pavilion will undoubtedly come to recruit him soon. You of the Xu family, just wait and see. I will lead Zhen to soar to new heights and attain supreme glory. Before long, Lu Zhen emerged from the secret chamber with a look of eager arrogance, walking directly toward Xu Zhongyan. He knelt on one knee and declared, I thank you, uncle, for your efforts in nurturing and raising me all these years. Zhen has not failed the expectations of everyone. Hua Zhongnan was overcome with a mix of joy and trepidation upon hearing this. He hurried forward to assist him to his feet and spoke. Zhender, do not do this. With your current status as a grade 9 heavenly genius, how could an old man like me dare to accept such a gesture from you? Rise quickly. Lu Zhen was visibly savoring the moment, basking in the sycophantic gazes of the powerful figures gathered around him. He felt as though he had reached the very pinnacle, standing high above the clouds. However, when his peripheral vision caught sight of me standing at the edge of the crowd, his expression darkened instantly. While everyone else was kowtowing to his grade 9 prestige, I alone remained with my arms crossed, watching with a calm and indifferent gaze. Amidst the countless eyes filled with admiration, he coldly turned to challenge Zhang Fan. Do you refuse to submit to me? I tilted my head, meeting his gaze with chilling indifference, and nonchalantly wrote the word contempt. In this life, apart from the father who raised me, there is no one else qualified enough to make me bow my head in submission. How laughable. You are nothing but trash, a wretch without even a single strand of spiritual root. What qualification do you possess to act so noble in my presence? Lu Zhen sneered, his expression filled with disdain. Immediately afterward, he turned and bowed respectfully toward Hua Zhongnan, saying, Uncle Hua, I have a request regarding Xianda. Speak your mind, there is no need for such grand formalities. Hua Zhongnan quickly reached out as if to help him rise. Lu Zhen cast a glance in my direction, the corners of his mouth curling into a cold, menacing smile. Yu Ran and I have been childhood sweethearts. I truly cannot bear to see her married off to such a good for nothing. I ask that you grant me Yu Ran's hand in marriage. I am the only one who can bring her true happiness. I alone can grant her a brilliant and prosperous future. Hua Zhongnan's expression shifted to one of deep conflict upon hearing this. He had already personally promised Yu Ran's hand in marriage to me. If he were to publicly change his mind now, would he not be branded as a man who reneges on his word? Seeing his hesitation, Lu Zhen clasped his hands behind his back and began to exert pressure through veiled threats. Uncle, if I were to announce my desire to take a wife right now, I am certain that many of the clans present here would fight for the chance to forge an alliance with me. By then, I would have already become the son-in-law of another family. What Zhengzhen's countenance changed drastically. Lu Zhen had become the towering pillar of strength that would bring glory and fame to the Hua family. If he were to lose such a formidable pillar of support, he would never be able to bear the infamy of being the sinner who ruined his own clan. Yet just as he was about to surrender to the harsh reality, I waved my brush, inscribing a few words to Uncle Shu. Whether one can truly provide happiness to Unhien depends on one's strength, not merely one's outward appearance. I am prepared to face Lu Trin and settle our grievances once and for all. Upon reading the letter, Shu Zhongyan felt a sudden profound sense of relief. If I were to lose, I would voluntarily withdraw from this marriage. He would no longer have to bear the burden of being branded a man who abandons his honor. And Lu Trin would finally achieve his long-held desire. Truly, it was a resolution that benefited everyone. As for whether I could actually emerge victorious, a useless piece of trash without even a single strand of spirit root like myself, how could I possibly triumph over a peerless prodigy with a 9th-rank spirit root? He immediately turned to Lu Trin and asked, Lu, what do you make of this? Upon hearing this, Lu Trin laughed aloud as if he had just heard a farce. A piece of trash dares to challenge a 9th-rank spirit root? Haha, very well. Out of consideration for our shared history growing up in the Shu estate, I shall grant you this opportunity, so you may witness the true depth of a 9th-rank spirit root. Even in defeat, you will be able to boast of this feat for the rest of your life. Only then did Shu Zhongyan completely cast off his heavy burden. However, regarding this opportunity, he immediately set the terms for them, a deadline of 3 days. Only the one who can achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation realm would be deemed worthy of seeking Hua Unhian's hand in marriage. How could one possibly achieve a breakthrough in just 3 days? Relying on my unique spirit root, my high-level imperial cultivation manual, this task posed no difficulty for me whatsoever. I simply needed to set my brush to paper and it would be done. Full of confidence and arrogance, Lu Trin declared that this advancement in realm would be but a small bridge to cross. I now possess a 9th-rank spirit root. Just wait and see what I shall manifest 3 days from now. At that very moment, an elder adorned in luxurious robes stepped forward from among the surrounding experts, hands clasped in salute. Young Master Lu, I am Qin Changsheng. As these words were spoken, the entire assembly was shaken. The Qin family had long monopolized the entire weapon refining industry surrounding Gushou City. In this world, a saying had always been passed down. It is better to offend the city lord 10 times over than to foolishly provoke the Qin family even by a fraction. Lu Trin was also somewhat suspicious, wondering what business the patriarch of the Qin family could have. Qin Changsheng held out a precious brocade box. Inside were 10 vials of refinement liquid emanating a surging radiant spiritual glow. He wore a gentle, benevolent smile. The Qin family wishes to congratulate young Master Lu for awakening a grade 9 spirit root. I have nothing else to offer you. Please accept these 10 vials of refinement liquid, freshly concocted, as a gift for you, young Master Lu. I hope that in 3 days' time, young Master Lu will successfully claim the beauty for his own. 10 vials of refinement liquid worth an exorbitant fortune. With such prime resources poured into one's cultivation, even a pig could shed its skin and transform into a dragon, let alone someone like Lu Zhen who possesses a grade 9 spirit root. The onlookers could not help but cast pitying glances in my direction, convinced that my fate had long since been sealed. I narrowed my eyes slightly as I looked ahead. It was clear that the Qin family had determined to stand behind Lu Zhen and provide him protection. Sensing my gaze fixed upon him, Qin Changsheng not only showed no restraint, but instead he displayed an air of extreme arrogance. All of the Qin family shops will from this moment forward strictly forbid the sale of refinement liquid to Jiangfan, a ruthless suppression intended to drive his opponent into a dead end. My eyes had now turned completely cold. I set my brush down and wrote, I hope you will not live to regret this. Do I look like someone who would regret discarding a piece of trash like you? Following young Master Lu is enough. Qin Changsheng raised his voice, questioning me with utter disdain. The entire arena erupted into a thunderous roar of mockery. I cast a meaningful glance at him, then turned and walked away. He departed silently amidst the jeers of scorn and contempt. The ridiculous farce had finally come to an end. The curious crowd slowly began to disperse. However, on the path back home, the elder following behind Qin Changsheng could not hide his expression of doubt and anxiety. He could not help but ask the patriarch why he had acted with such excessive hostility moments ago. Why was there a need to suppress a member of the younger generation with such harsh words? The Qin family had always prided itself on maintaining harmony to ensure prosperity. The uncharacteristic actions of Qin Jinyu were completely incomprehensible to him. Qin Changsheng maintained a cold, expressionless face as he asked in return. That mysterious soul master from those days suddenly descended upon the world. The elder nodded, confirming that he had kept the memory etched clearly in his mind. It was that very mid-grade refining liquid, concocted by that high-level expert, that nearly obliterated the century-old foundation of our Qin family. If he had not limited himself to refining only 10 bottles in exchange for wealth and a few materials before vanishing, then I fear that single mid-grade refining liquid would have been enough to seize the entire low-grade market from our Qin family. It would have been completely dominated by that individual. So, do you still remember exactly when Lu Zhen arrived in our Guqing city? Qin Chongsheng uttered these words, heavy with hidden meaning. Upon hearing this, the elder fell into deep contemplation, before suddenly exclaiming in horror about the events of 10 years ago. Family head, are you implying that this is indeed the case? Qin Chongsheng's gaze revealed a clear sense of agitation. 10 years ago was exactly when Lu Zhen sought us out, and it was at that very moment that the mysterious Soul Master appeared. This is absolutely no mere coincidence. I suspect that he is highly likely to be Lu Zhen, the guardian protector for the genius who possesses the ninth grade spirit root. Do you now understand why I chose to intervene in the competition between Lu Zhen and Jiang Fan? Do you finally grasp my intentions? The elder was suddenly enlightened, slapping the table and offering endless praise. So the family head wishes for Lu Zhen to owe us a favor, thereby earning the recognition of the Soul Master standing behind him. If that person could become our patron, the territory of our Qin family would surely not be confined to these few insignificant cities. Qin Chongsheng nodded slowly, his fingers clenching into the void, declaring with soaring ambition that he had always acted with caution throughout his life and had never made a wrong decision. I am certain that this selection will be no different. As for that individual named Jiang Fan, if he is to be blamed, he should blame his own lack of foresight for daring to obstruct the path to greatness for our Qin family. Regardless, he is but a nameless and insignificant chess piece. An offense has been committed, so be it. For his meager talents are incapable of stirring up any waves. Upon returning to my room, I immediately barred the door to rest. This is the Qingfeng true scripture. Perhaps it was the purification brought by the seeds of the ancient void tree, but I found that I could comprehend this mysterious high-grade imperial cultivation manual with the ease and fluidity of a flowing stream. An hour later, I drifted into a state of deep meditation, detaching from the world, my essence gathering within my dantian as my spirit became one with the void. I silently recited the incantations as my spirit veins acted like a vast web, ceaselessly absorbing spiritual energy, refining it into the purest form of vital force. As the first light of dawn broke, I threw a punch. The air trembled, resounding with low, thunderous cracks. Second level of chi condensation. In a single short night, I had achieved a breakthrough. A profound sense of exhilaration surged within me. Back then, Shuyining required a full 3 days of grueling, unrelenting effort to reach the first level of chi condensation, yet I quickly regained my composure. The second level of chi condensation is simply not enough. I must become stronger to protect myself. I must protect Shuyuran. I must attain even greater power. As one progresses further into the stages of chi condensation, cultivation becomes increasingly difficult, requiring the aid of chi refining fluid to achieve a breakthrough. However, the price of such fluid is exorbitant, and Qin Chongsheng has severed every path available for me to acquire it. Just as I found myself in this predicament, a flash of insight suddenly sparked within my mind. Before he passed, Father Lin had instructed me to take the wooden box I had carried for 10 years and bury it in front of my own grave. He had cautioned me strictly that, until the seed within sprouted, I was forbidden from digging it up. Could it be that he left some cultivation resources for me inside? Just as I was about to step out the door, the sound of Shu Yoran's desperate pleas drifted from the neighboring courtyard. Aunt Wong, this is the cultivation resource the clan just issued for me this month. I beg of you, do not take away this tiny shred of hope from me. Wang Yunfeng snatched the vial away with a cold, callous expression. Don't think I don't know your intentions. You're planning to give this to that trash, Jiang Fan, aren't you? You want him to win? You are truly dreaming in broad daylight. Crash, she ruthlessly hurled the vial of chi refining fluid to the ground, shattering it into pieces. Heartbroken, Suyuran lunged forward, trying to scoop up the liquid as it seeped into the mud. Her eyes blurred with tears. Aunt Wang, little Fan is already in such a pitiful state. Why must you all continue to bully him like this? Is it truly necessary to make things difficult for him over a single vial of chi refining fluid? Wang Yunf dusted off her hands and spoke with stinging cruelty. Who is bullying him? This chi refining fluid belongs to our Shu clan. If he has any backbone, he should go out and earn it himself, instead of relying on a woman to provide for him in the shadows. It is not just the Shu manor that looks down upon us. Even the beggars by the roadside would spit in our faces in contempt. Let us go, I said as I stepped to her side. I gently patted her trembling shoulders. She collapsed into my arms, weeping silently and apologizing. Xiao Fan, I am truly useless. I should have been more careful, then Aunt Wang would not have discovered us. My heart was overflowing with tenderness and pity for my foolish girl. I am already grateful to you, so how could I ever blame you? But that was the only essence-refining vessel I could have given you. I comforted Wang Yingfeng gently. There is a saying that I hold in high regard. If a man must rely on a woman to achieve victory, not only will the world despise him, but I would feel truly base myself. You may rest easy. I have my own way of dealing with the refining profession. Go back and rest, calm your mind, and wait for good news from me. You only need to exert your full effort. No matter how the outcome may turn out, I will never bear any resentment towards you. Though he nodded in agreement, he turned toward the Yunwu Mountains, a place renowned for its rare medicinal herbs, as if he intended to exhaust the last of his remaining strength. I left the Shu Manor and sought out the quiet graveyard in the outskirts, kneeling down before my father's grave. With a choked voice, I recounted stories of the past. Tears streamed down my face like a fountain. Father, your unfilial son has come to visit you. Father, I am to be wed soon, but my bride is not Shu Yining. Rather, it is Shu Yoran whom I have cherished so dearly. I once said she was the only one truly fit to be my wife, because her nature is inherently gentle, This simple offering. If you were still alive in this world, you would surely be laughing so hard you could not close your mouth, instead of wearing that stern expression you once held. Once our wedding ceremony is formally concluded, I drew a deep breath, yet I could not have anticipated the complications that would follow. I must open the casket my father left behind, knowing full well it will disturb his final rest. I asked myself for forgiveness for this intrusion. I must dig 3 feet into the earth. A box black as ink emerged without a single mark of decay. This precious artifact had finally seen the light of day once more. This box seemed to emanate spiritual energy of its own, entirely untouched by the erosion of time. My heart raced, and I gently pressed the mechanism to unlatch it. As the wood shifted, the box slowly creaked open, and the sight that met my eyes caused my pupils to constrict in sheer astonishment. I stood frozen in place, utterly speechless. Inside the wooden box lay 2 jade vials filled with a vibrant flowing azure liquid. I could not suppress a gasp of terror and disbelief. It was none other than the spirit refining essence. There was no mistake, it was truly the spirit refining essence. These 2 vials of spiritual liquid had arrived at the perfect moment to relieve my most pressing burdens. I unfolded the letter resting beneath them. The familiar handwriting of my father, carrying a trace of regret, appeared before me. Xiaofan, by the time you read this letter, your father will have already departed from this world for 3 years. Only when those seeds have sprouted will these items truly be of use to you. My own comprehension was mediocre. Despite a lifetime of study, I reached only the rank of a 2-star soul master. I hope my son can surpass his father and attain the realm of a great soul master. Only then will you possess the strength to protect yourself. The letter also mentioned that this wooden casket was a memento left behind by my mother. If my cultivation reaches the rank of a 5-star soul master, I can unlock the secret mechanism hidden within. My eyes suddenly blurred with tears. I clenched my fists tightly and roared a cry to my father. Son will certainly strive to survive. I must regain my composure. I suddenly recalled the noble profession of soul masters, who not only possess souls of immense supernatural power, but are also the only ones capable of purging impurities from heaven-sent treasures. To refine medicinal pills that channel the essence of heaven and earth, the Qin family relied solely on their patriarch Midai and his blade to bolster their ambitions. With just the level of an apprentice and this treasure, one could easily dominate Gu City. I turned to the first chapter of the Tai Soul Technique Manual. The characters inscribed upon the pages twisted in a most eerie fashion. An ordinary person would suffer immediate damage to their soul upon a mere glance. Only those with a powerful soul possess the qualifications to cultivate this technique. I endured agony that pierced to the very depths of my heart, and in just half a day I grasped a core portion of this soul-refining manual. Following that, I consumed a full bottle of mid-grade spirit essence. As I sat there absorbing the medicinal properties into my body, that surge of power instantly transformed into a surging, violent torrent of spirit energy. I had successfully achieved a breakthrough to the 3rd level of Qi refining. I did not rush back to the tomb, but chose instead to don a black robe, covered my face with a mask, and stepped into the Zhenbao pavilion while it was bustling with trade. This was a shop owned by the Chen clan, the ancestral enemy of my Qin clan. The old shopkeeper with his thin, drooping mustache wore an expression of profound indolence. I placed a voice-altering pill in my mouth to disguise my tone and coldly declared that I was here neither to buy nor to sell but to trade. With that, I slammed the bottle of mid-grade Qi refining essence onto the counter. The shopkeeper was initially stunned, but shortly thereafter he let out a cry of sheer terror. Could this truly be the legendary mid-grade Qi refining essence? For 10 long years, I have finally had the privilege of seeing this item once again. His attitude instantly shifted to one of sycophantic humility. His voice trembled as he asked, "Honorable Master, are you perhaps an alchemist?" I coldly recalled the events of the past. Do you wish to know why that shopkeeper was so terrified he began to slap his own face? He bowed repeatedly to seek forgiveness, valuing the item at 10,000 taels, the market price, enough to exchange for 10 portions of refining herbs. That shopkeeper, desperate to keep me in his favor, took the initiative to offer 11 portions of materials and pleaded, "Honorable Master, tomorrow at the Medicine Family's auction, if you have any spirit essence remaining, could you consider selling it to our Chen clan? Grant us this favor," he begged, and with a faint wave of my hand I verified that no one was following me. I removed my disguise and stepped out onto the main street. I had taken only a few steps when a cold laugh suddenly echoed out. Lu Zhen was riding spiritedly on horseback, accompanied by Qin Changsheng. Lu Zhen glanced toward the Zhenbao pavilion not far away, and sneered, "Look, Patriarch Qin, there are some people who truly dream with their eyes open in broad daylight, still hoping they can actually purchase that low-grade Qi refining essence." Qin Changsheng cast a look of utter contempt in my direction. "Outside of our Qin clan here in Guzhou City, you will not find a single drop of Qi refining essence anywhere else. You come to the true treasure pavilion to beg for such things. I fear you have come to the wrong place. Instead of groveling before them, you would be better off begging this young Master Lu right here." Lu Zhen, perched upon his horse, gave a lecherous laugh and said, "So you want to beg for my refining fluid? Then you must beg me to grant your fiancé a path to survival." Qin Changsheng let out a cold laugh. He spurred his horse forward and said, "Do not dream of ever obtaining the refining fluid. As long as I, Qin Changsheng, am here, you shall never lay a finger on it for as long as you live." Even a single drop of that refining fluid, I watched their retreating figures in silence. That common, low-grade refining fluid is something I would not even deign to glance at. At this moment, within the True Treasure Pavilion, the high-ranking members of the Chen family were gathered. The manager stood before the eldest miss, Chen Xilin, and made his report. Eldest miss, I offer you my deepest apologies. Everything transpired exactly as this old servant has recounted. Chen Xilin's eyes radiated keen intelligence and wisdom. She asked in a low voice, "Have you followed my orders to investigate his identity?" The manager's body trembled, and he hurriedly replied, "This old servant would not dare be so reckless. For a soul master, the greatest taboo is to be spied upon by others. I fear it would displease him and invite a great catastrophe." Would that not be inviting the destruction of the entire Chen family? Only then did Chen Xilin truly feel at ease. If they could recruit this soul master to provide mid-grade refining fluids, the fortunes of the Chen family would surely be reversed and rise once more. Within the manor, utter chaos had erupted. Shu Yuran had gone missing, and my heart was in a state of turmoil. I immediately poured all my remaining strength into rushing toward Yunwu Mountain. Just as expected, I found him at the edge of the cliff. 3 brutes from the Blood Talisman Palace were wearing ghastly smiles, staring fixedly at Yorin as she clung to the vines. "Beautiful Miss Shu, do not waste your breath," they taunted. "It would be a great pity if you were to fall and be smashed to pieces. Come up here. Every debt has a debtor, every grievance a source. We only want to capture you to collect the silver debt that Lu Zhen has owed for so long. We swear we will do you no harm." Yorin gritted her teeth. Don't even dream of it. Knowing her strength was exhausted and she could hold on no longer, she calmly let go, intending to end her own life. Xiaofan, I arrived just in time, launching a kick that sent one assailant plummeting into the abyss before moving with lightning speed to strike down the remaining 2. The lone survivor shrieked in desperation, "Do you dare to kill members of the Blood Axe Palace? You are finished. You are as good as dead." Unhin was rescued, her face reflecting absolute disbelief. As I pulled Xiaofan up, his palms were shredded by jagged vines, and the rare spirit herb he had risked everything for was utterly destroyed. He whispered in anguish, "It took me so much effort to find that." I pulled him into my arms, my heart aching for him. Spirit herbs are countless, but there is only one of you. Never again risk your life for my sake. If you were to perish because of me, the grief would be a burden I could never endure for the rest of my days. Unheen drifted into an exhausted slumber in my embrace. From the corpses, I recovered the token of the Blood Axe Palace. With this item, one gains the qualification to enter the spirit pool for cultivation. That night, I kept watch over him while attempting to refine spirit cleansing liquid. Despite squandering 3 portions of the raw materials, I was shocked to produce 7 bottles of high-grade and 1 bottle of peak-grade elixir. Could it be that my soul power has already reached the realm of divine refinement? Deep within, I was profoundly shaken. After consuming the peak-grade spirit liquid, the surging spiritual energy instantly propelled my cultivation to the 4th layer of chi refining. Watching Unheen still deep in sleep, I smiled softly and whispered her name. "This time I have finally managed to protect you." At the same moment, Lu Zhen stared at the 10 empty elixir bottles, his face deathly pale, wondering how matters had turned out this way. I have exhausted all that spirit liquid. Why have I still not achieved a breakthrough? Wang Yunhuang was equally baffled by the turn of events, only able to console him that even without a breakthrough, victory was still within his grasp. Gradually, Lu Zhen regained his usual air of confidence. With a sneer, he remarked, "Is a wretch like him even worthy of being compared to me? My failure to break through is only a temporary setback, but he shall never dream of achieving such a breakthrough in this lifetime. Let us head to the main hall to settle this." Bathed in the morning light, I walked alongside Shu Unhian as we returned to the Shu mansion. Standing before the grand gates and looking inside, Su Unhian's footsteps faltered momentarily. Her eyes filled with heaviness as she called out, "Xiaofan, even if you lose in the end, it does not matter. Never torment yourself over the outcome. I will never utter a single word of reproach against you." One must understand that in the days they had spent together, she had long ago surrendered her heart to me entirely. If it truly meant losing, she would rather die a second time than ever consent to marry Lu Zhen. I gripped her hands tightly. "Calmly," I said, "I once swore to protect you. Now and forevermore that promise remains unchanged." With those words, I took her hand and walked boldly into the Hua estate. After 10 years of enduring humiliation, I rose like a sudden tempest. More than ever, I hungered to prove my worth. The entire clan was suddenly shaken, thrown into a state of shock. Hua Zhongyan stepped forward to block our path. Standing tall, he berated Hua Shunran. "Where on earth have you been? Are you trying to frighten us to death?" A shadow of sorrow flickered across Hua Shunran's face. She retorted, "Father, are you truly worried for my safety, or are you merely anxious that you cannot satisfy Lu Zhen, thereby costing our family a powerful patron?" Hua Zhongyan was left speechless, unable to utter another word before forcing a look of relief. "Enough. As long as you have returned, that is all that matters." He turned his gaze toward me, his brows furrowing slightly as he asked, "Zhangfan, how has your cultivation been progressing lately?" I calmly wrote 2 words, "Still steady." Though Hua Zhongyan felt a flicker of surprise in his heart, he reasoned that if even Lu Zhen with his 9th grade spirit root had yet to break through, there was naturally no way I could have achieved such a feat. He led us toward the main hall. At this moment, members of both the main and branch families had gathered, and the women of the clan were busy fawning over Lu Zhen. Hua Yining also chimed in, laughing and agreeing with their sycophantic remarks. Upon seeing me, the smile on her face vanished in an instant, and she coldly remarked, "I thought you wouldn't dare show your face here. It seems you still possess a shred of manly courage." Mockery and derision erupted throughout the clan. Where does he find the audacity to compare himself to Lu Zhen? If it were me, I would have surrendered Huashunran long ago to avoid losing face before the entire world. I stood in the center of the main hall devoid of all expression, my figure standing as upright and rigid as a spear. I brandished my brush and wrote a letter of challenge in blood. When shall we begin? The aura of confidence emanating from the very marrow of my bones left Hua Yining momentarily stunned. Yet she shook her head and said, "The outcome of this duel has already been decided. What does it matter when we begin?" Wang Yingfeng set down her teacup, her expression arrogant, looking at me with nothing but contempt. "Do you still remember the terms of the wager for this duel? If you are not Lu Zhen's equal, then it is truly a pity that Xu Yuran must marry him." I replied coldly. "If Lu Zhen loses, I hope you will discipline your nephew properly, and not let him continue his delusion of a toad lusting after a swan's flesh." Wang Yingfeng slammed the table and stood up, laughing out of pure fury. "If you have already lost, then get out of the Shu manor immediately. Since we owe each other nothing," I gestured with my brush, "then let us determine who is superior. Zhener, make your move." Wang Yingfeng let out a cold snort, believing that even the slightest progress compared to before would count as a victory, as Yongfan could never hope to achieve a breakthrough. Lu Zhen stepped into the center of the path with a disdainful expression, mocking the prospect of competing against a ninth-grade spiritual root. If the ancestors of the Jiang clan knew of this, they would surely feel deeply embarrassed. He let out a powerful roar, throwing his fists with such velocity that they caused the air to crackle like exploding firecrackers. It was the peak of the 5th level of qi refining. Xu Yining's face showed clear astonishment because he still had not broken through. It makes no sense, as 10 vials of qi refining fluid have already been consumed. Even with a 9th-grade spiritual root, he hasn't progressed in the slightest. The clansmen glanced at one another in surprise, the atmosphere suddenly turning stifling and awkward. Wang Yingfen was forced to break the silence, claiming that the path of cultivation is inherently arduous and that advancing to the peak of the realm in only 3 days is proof of his extraordinary talent. Regardless of what happens, no talentless trash without a spiritual root could ever hope to compare. Upon hearing this flattery, Lu Zhen immediately regained his inherent arrogance, then glared at me challengingly and asked, "What do you think?" He spoke coldly, "Zhongfan, even if I cannot break through immediately, my cultivation base has at least improved significantly. Ultimately, you will still lose to me." I raised an eyebrow and wore an arrogant smile, as my brushstroke manifested like the edge of a 9th-grade spiritual root blade. "With Qin Shengsheng's wholehearted assistance, a beast such as you is merely a lowly insect crawling upon the earth. By what do you Wang Yingfeng lost his patience, slamming his hand against the table with a furious roar. The corner of my mouth curled into an even sharper expression of biting sarcasm. In an instant, I swung my fist, unleashing a thunderous blow into the air. A surge of pure spiritual energy erupted, shaking the very space around us and completely silencing the ridicule of everyone present. First level of qi refining. It truly was the first level of qi refining. "Xiaofan, have you actually achieved a breakthrough?" Xu Yoran's face, which had been cast in shadow, immediately lit up with overwhelming joy and astonishment. She covered her mouth tightly, gasping in disbelief, unable to trust what she was seeing. Xu Dining's eyes went vacant as she muttered, "So he truly possesses a spiritual root." The female clansman who had always protected Lu Zhen stood in collective shock. Lu Zhen's eyes bulged as he stared fixedly, unable to comprehend how someone as heaven-gifted as himself, a 9th-grade talent, could suffer defeat at the hands of a mere piece of trash. I looked directly at him before raising my brush to write upon the paper. If the ancestors of the Jiang family knew I had defeated a 9th-grade spiritual root, they would surely feel an immense sense of pride. These words struck Lu Zhen like a physical slap to the face, driving him to clench his trembling fists in fury. Wang Yingfeng's expression turned incomparably unsightly, and she retorted in a cold voice, "It is merely the first level of qi refining." Achieving a breakthrough to the first level of the qi refining stage, how can that even be compared to a breakthrough to the 6th level? The latter is inherently 5 times stronger than the former, the surrounding clansmen echoed in agreement. Truly such a trivial accomplishment. Even a common beast could break through if it possessed a spiritual root. To flaunt such a thing so shamelessly is truly disgraceful. I cannot fathom where he finds the audacity to act in such a way. I merely smiled with complete composure, and once again, I unleashed a strike overflowing with power, a swirling gale howling as the air erupted with a deafening boom. I set my brush to the paper to write a challenge. "What about now?" Xu Yuran was so stunned she was left speechless. Second level of qi refining. "Xiaofan, I never imagined you would break through to the 2nd level of qi refining in a mere 3 days. Xu Dining could truly no longer remain composed. She knocked over her chair, oblivious to the chaos she caused. Even I could not accomplish the miracle of breaking through to the 2nd level in just 3 days. "Zhongfan, have you truly been without a spirit root all this time?" Lu Zheng's eyes burned with towering rage. He could not believe that he was being completely suppressed by this piece of trash. Wang Yingfeng stubbornly searched for excuses, claiming that the 2nd level was not difficult at all, and that one could only say he was temporarily keeping pace with Lu Zheng. Before the words had even faded, I unleashed a 3rd strike. The sharp, explosive sound of air being rent echoed out like a slap directly across everyone's faces. What else could they say? I took up my brush and wrote that reaching the 3rd level of qi refining was an impossibility. Xu Yining exclaimed in horror. Even a 9th-grade spirit root would absolutely be incapable of such a feat. "What on earth is going on with you?" The entire venue fell into a deathly silence. The gazes of everyone looking toward me shifted from contempt to utter terror. I danced my brush across the paper, the calligraphy archaic and infinitely refined. What does a true dragon matter? What is a ninth grade spirit root in the grand scheme of things? Before the crowd, I reached out and pulled Shu Yuran into my arms, writing that Yuran is the wife of I, Zhongfan, and no one shall ever take her from me. Lu Zhong lunged forward, roaring in fury. You with the surname Jiang, what are you so smug about? The envoys from the Tianji Pavilion are already on their way, and when I ascend in status and rank, you will still be nothing more than a foul, pathetic ant. Compared to me, you are utterly unworthy. Having said that, he flicked his sleeves with a look of disdain and departed. In my heart, I could not help but be suspicious. I possessed the nether spirit root and the supreme spirit leaves, yet I only reached the 4th level. How could Lu Zheng, with his purported 9th grade spirit root, remain completely stagnant? Is it possible that his test results were fraudulent? Wang Yingfeng felt that she had lost all face. She glared with fury and shouted, "Very well, you think you are quite capable now, don't you? I had originally intended to waive your betrothal gifts, but it seems you have quite the ability. 10 days from now you had better prepare a lavish dowry. If you cannot produce it, do not blame me for annulling the engagement and making you pay a heavy price." She slammed the table and departed decisively, leaving Yoren behind with a face full of sorrow as she looked at Zhang Fan. This meager amount of silver is clearly insufficient. It is obvious that Wang Yi is merely trying to make things difficult for you. I gently comforted her, telling her to rest assured that I would find a solution, and urged her to go and rest early, warning her not to wander outside recklessly. Having inherited the legacy of a soul master, financial matters have never been a burden to me. After bidding farewell to a still reluctant Yuran, I set off directly toward the center of the city. Su Dining watched Jiang Fan's retreating figure, then advised Yuran that Lu Zheng's future prospects are a pinnacle of existence, one that you might never be able to reach, even in this lifetime. Yuran, however, looked happily into the distance, thinking that no matter how powerful Lu Zheng is, what does that have to do with me? Zhang Fan is the only man truly worthy of me entrusting my entire life to. This display was an eyesore to Shu Dining. By this time, stalls had been set up in dense rows along both sides of the city lord's mansion. The annual alchemy exhibition was currently underway. In front of Qin Changsheng's stall, the crowd was as busy as a festival as he enthusiastically promoted his low-grade refining fluid. Meanwhile, the Tran family's stall opposite his was desolate and empty. Tran Tulam's expression revealed clear signs of anxiety. She gazed toward the street corner and sighed softly. Would that senior truly come? The shopkeeper standing beside Trandulam could only offer a bitter smile. For most soul masters possess temperaments that are solitary and eccentric, and whether or not he arrives depends entirely upon his mood. Both of them were currently as uneasy as if they were sitting on a pile of burning coals. If that soul master were to appear, the Tran family could certainly rely on his mid-grade refining fluid to overwhelm the Qin family. But if I do not show up, the coming year will be exceptionally difficult and dire for the Tran family. Even worse, rumors are circulating that Qin Changsheng is now able to barely refine mid-grade refining fluid, and although his efficiency is extremely low, it is enough to cause a sensation throughout the entire city. At this very moment, I arrived between the two family stalls. Qin Changsheng caught sight of me and curled his lips into a mocking sneer. I trust everyone here recognizes the young man standing below. He is none other than Zhang Fan, the future son-in-law of our Shu family. He did not know his own limits and dared to challenge young Master Lu, and as a result, I have completely banned him from purchasing medicinal materials. He must have lost his mind to have gone to Zhenbao Pavilion seeking medicine, only to return empty-handed. Let us calculate the time. He has surely lost everything by now and must be... Does he actually dare to seize this opportunity to flaunt his influence? He lost his own wife over a mere bottle of refining fluid. Surely none of you here wish to meet such a tragic end, do you? Whoever intends to purchase, make your move quickly before the chance slips away. No sooner had those words left his lips than the crowd surged forward like a swarm of hornets. Qin Changsheng watched his revenue skyrocket, unable to hide his ear-to-ear grin. He stared at me with eyes full of mockery and derision. Young Zhang, I offer my thanks. Your mirror of opposition has truly proven useful. Or perhaps you would like to go sit before the gates of my Qin family and recount to everyone how you were abandoned by your wife, so that you might help the revenue of my Qin family prosper even further. I offered a faint cryptic smile, then took up my brush and wrote, Patriarch Qin, your laughter comes far too soon. What you have just said is indeed not wrong, yet I have even better news that I have not yet announced. The one who will truly have the last laugh is still waiting in the shadows. Qin Changsheng continued to throw his head back, laughing with unbridled arrogance. My smile deepened as I silently hoped that you would still be able to laugh by the very end. I turned, adopting an air of haughty indifference, and stepped directly into the narrow alley. Qin Changsheng let out a cold, disdainful snort filled with contempt. What kind of trash is this? Even now, do you still wish to watch the Qin family make a fool of themselves? Do you not realize the status we hold at this moment? Our Qin family has successfully aligned ourselves with a 9th grade prodigy. A moment later, a mysterious figure, cloaked in thick black robes, appeared, their face obscured by a mystical mask as they emerged from the alley. That individual strode proudly onto the Chen family's viewing platform. Chen Silin narrowed her beautiful eyes and cautiously asked who he was. At that moment, the old shopkeeper's heart began to hammer with astonishment. Overwhelmed with joy, he hurriedly signaled that this was indeed the person the young mistress had been expecting. A wave of profound shock rose within Chen Silin. She did not dare to delay and immediately bowed to offer her respects. Silin pays her respects to the senior. I asked, my voice deep and cold. Chen family, how much refining fluid can you actually afford to purchase? Chen Silin struggled to suppress the surge of joy rising within her. Our Chen family has prepared 100,000 taels of silver. At the current market rate, we can acquire 10 bottles of mid-grade refining fluid. Because in my hands at this moment, I hold only high-grade Mo Wei Ying. Seeing my silence, Chen Silin mistakenly assumed that the price was insufficient. She hurriedly explained, I beg you, senior, please temper your anger. The Qin family is currently capable of refining mid-grade elixirs. Our two houses are engaged in a fierce struggle, and the price will certainly plummet soon. The 100,000 taels we offered is in truth a fair price for the acquisition. I never said I would sell the mid-grade elixirs to you. I answered calmly and casually produced a vial of superior-grade refinement liquid. Chen Silin's pupils constricted in astonishment, while the elder treasurer was so shaken that he nearly lost his wits. She exclaimed in terror, is this not the superior-grade refinement liquid? Senior, do you truly intend to sell this? To refine this superior-grade variant, we require a second-rank soul master, a rarity indeed. They are exceptional talents that even the great sects struggle to find. I indifferently stated a price of 10,000 taels, but senior, even a mid-grade vial typically fetches 10,000 taels. As Chen Silin led the way, she could not stop questioning my true intentions, so I calmly retrieved 3 more vials and placed them neatly upon the table. My gaze was as tranquil as a still lake as I spoke slowly. I have only one condition, the total collapse of the Qin family. Can you accomplish this? Upon hearing this, Chen Silin's mind seemed to awaken to the truth. She could not help but exclaim in shock. Just what did the Qin family do to offend a terrifying second-rank soul master such as yourself? The soul master immediately affirmed with certainty that if the senior agreed to a long-term supply, toppling the Qin family would be effortless. Very well, provide the raw materials, and I shall begin mass production for you at once. The weather had shifted toward high noon, and the exhibition had reached the peak of its fervor. Qin Chongsheng declared in a thunderous, resonant voice, attention everyone. Today I wish to announce a piece of momentous and auspicious news. The Qin family has successfully researched and brought forth the mid-grade refinement liquid. Each vial shall be sold for the price of 13,000 taels. The entire hall erupted in a deafening roar of cheers. Everyone rushed forward crazed, vying for even a single vial. Just as Qin Chongsheng stood gloating over the Qin family's rising fortune, Chen Silin suddenly spoke from across the way, attention, honored guests. My Chen family also wishes to announce a joyous occasion to everyone today. Her face was brimming with confidence and pride. In her hands she held a wooden tray draped in a vibrant red cloth. Standing at a distance, she faced him directly, her gaze locked onto Qin Chongsheng. Qin Chongsheng frowned slightly, muttering to himself, what kind of mysterious game is this little girl trying to play? To challenge the Qin family head-on, one must possess genuine strength. No sooner had the words left his lips than a subtle, knowing smile curled the corner of Chen Siling's mouth. She went straight to the point, announcing that from this day forward, the Chen family would officially supply top-grade refinement liquid in limited quantities. With a decisive motion, she flung away the red cloth covering the tray. A bottle of top-grade refinement liquid shimmered before the crowd, and the scene instantly erupted into a commotion that shook the very heavens. A single bottle of this top-grade refinement liquid possessed more potency than 5 bottles of low-grade liquid combined. This was, in truth, a high-level spiritual medicine that only disciples of major sects could ever hope to attain. Who would have thought that our small Zhaocheng city would one day witness such a treasure being put up for sale? The Chen family is truly attempting to ascend to the heavens in a single bound. Qin Changsheng's pupils contracted in sheer terror and confusion. Where on earth did the Chen family acquire the technique to refine such a top-grade elixir? This item far surpassed the medium-grade variety that caused a sensation 10 years ago. Its impact was devastatingly superior. Watching the crowd surge like a torrential flood, pushing and shoving toward the opposite platform, Qin Chongsheng bellowed, everyone, do not be rash. Top-grade refinement liquid is worth at least 50,000 taels of silver. Are you certain you can actually afford to purchase it? Many hot-headed martial artists paused at these words, their expressions showing clear hesitation. Indeed, such an exorbitantly priced treasure was certainly not something an ordinary person could aspire to possess. It would be wiser to settle for buying the medium or low-grade varieties. Yet Chen Siling merely allowed a proud, confident smile to grace her lips. To show our gratitude for the support of both new and returning customers, we hereby announce that for a period of 1 month, the price of our top-grade refinement liquid will be a mere 10,000 taels of silver. Her calculations were meticulous. At this price, the Chen family would only reap a meager profit of 1,000 taels, yet it was more than enough to crush the Qin family beneath their feet. What did she say? A top-grade item for only 10,000 taels? That is even cheaper than the medium-grade liquid the Qin family sells for 13,000. One would truly be a fool not to buy it. Patriarch Qin, I do not want the low-grade refinement. Return our money. The crowd erupted in an instant, boiling over like heated water. While some rushed toward the Tran family in a frenzy to retrieve their silver, others swarmed the Tan family, demanding returns and refunds. This scene of utter chaos persisted until the very moment of sunset. Tan Truongsin gazed at the table piled high with returned vials of low-grade refining liquid, his eyes burning crimson with rage. How could things have turned out this way? From where did the Tran family acquire that source of high-grade refining liquid? It felt as though they were intentionally targeting us. He ground his teeth until they creaked, whispering a venomous curse against Tran Tu Lin. No matter who stands behind you, I will go to see Luke Trin this very instant. I shall invite his personal guardian to intervene. Within the secret tent behind the Tran family storefront, I calmly sipped a cup of hot tea. After a long and arduous day, I had successfully refined 50 vials of high-grade and 10 vials of supreme-grade refining liquid. The supreme grade I would keep for my own use, while the high grade I sold to Tran Tu Ling at the price of 10,000 taels of silver per vial. At this moment, Tran Tu Lin approached gently, clutching a stack of banknotes. A faint, pure fragrance drifted toward me as she spoke. Senior, this is your payment of 500,000 taels of silver. I took the banknotes and stored them away without a flicker of emotion. Tomorrow I shall refine another batch. Ensure you have the silver and the raw materials prepared. Having said this, I rose, intending to depart immediately. Tran Tu Ling spoke up in haste, desperate to detain me. Senior, please wait a moment. A glint of shrewd calculation flashed through her eyes. Although the high-grade refining liquid has already wounded half of the Tan family's influence, the low-level martial artists can still only afford to purchase the low-grade products from their house. They are still managing to hang on by a thread. Senior, would it be possible for you to refine a quantity of low-grade refining liquid? I furrowed my brows slightly, staring into the distance, lost in thought. The demand for low-grade refining liquid was indeed vast, but if I were to refine it by hand, it would be a colossal waste of my cultivation time. Perhaps I am considering whether to cultivate a few Soulmaster apprentices. Senior, what is your opinion on this? Tu Ling suddenly covered her chest, her expression shifting with a hint of awkwardness as she spoke. I snapped out of my contemplation, realizing that while I had been distracted, my gaze had inadvertently fallen upon her chest. I quickly averted my eyes and offered a casual apology. I was just considering whether to train a few Soulmaster apprentices to specialize in refining low-grade refining liquid. However, this matter cannot be rushed. We shall discuss it in greater detail when we have more leisure. With those words, I cast a glance at the heavens and the earth before cupping my hands in a salute and departing. Tran Tu Lan's heart trembled upon hearing the mention of cultivating apprentices. If the Tran family could possess their own apprentice, they would no longer need to worry about the supply of low-grade qi refining liquid in the future. Yet, as she recalled the look in my eyes moments ago, she could not help but bite down on her crimson lips. She let out a silent sigh, thinking to herself, was he truly implying something about me? Indeed, all men in this world are cut from the same cloth. After contemplating for a long while, she resolutely issued a command, bring out the clarity crystal. Tomorrow I must see his true face clearly. Before making any decision to sacrifice herself, she must behold the true appearance of this high-level soulmaster with her own eyes. With her mind in a state of utter turmoil, she suddenly recalled an old friend and instructed the manager, I have heard that Unian has become betrothed. Tomorrow you shall go to the Hua residence and invite her here as a guest, and take the opportunity to bring her fiancé along as well. I wish to see which young master has the fortune to pluck that shining pearl. The manager gave a bitter smile. Miss, I fear I must disappoint you. Her fiancé is none other than Kwang Pham, that mute youth who is living as a dependent in the Hua residence, a man who does not even possess a single spiritual root. Tran Tu Lan's eyes widened in sheer astonishment. The manager nodded regretfully. This news is entirely true. The report has already spread throughout the entire Kochu city. Tran Tu Lan was both horrified and furious. Has Unyan's Dao heart become so disordered that she has lost her mind? Truly, a beautiful flower is being planted in a pile of dung. No, I must convince her to abandon this engagement. I shall go there personally and reprimand her for this folly. A man with healthy limbs, why would he ever accept being a mere parasite? Leaving the exhibition, I did not return to the Hua residence, but instead took the Blood Palace token and headed straight for the city lord's manor. The captain of the guards saw the token and immediately showed his respect. To be so young and yet capable of slaying a villain of the Blood Palace, you are truly a hero among youths. He led me toward the spirit pool, hidden within the dark and misty depths of the city lord's manor. You have earned the qualification to cultivate here once. Follow me. At this very moment, standing before the 7 spirit pool, a woman clad in purple garments waited for our arrival. Her figure was tall and slender, her beauty so stunning it seemed to defy the heavens. An icy aura radiated from her entire being, a cold, aloof temperament that kept others at a distance of 10,000 miles. She cast a cold, detached glance toward me, and upon discerning my cultivation level, she spoke with blatant disdain. So it is nothing more than the 4th layer of qi refining perfected. I am already running late, I remarked, before striding inside to begin my cultivation. I truly could not fathom the ways of this world. The captain of the guards sighed, reporting that this place would only be open for 3 years and the spiritual energy was no longer as abundant as it once was. Currently, if those at the 4th layer of qi refining or higher wish to break through, unless you possess exceptional talent or a high-grade cultivation manual, go inside and test your luck. You have only a single hour. My palms grew slightly damp with sweat. I stepped quickly into the secret chamber. Not long after, City Lord Yi Jifeng arrived in a rush, instructing his guards that they must wait for the arrival of the venerable fairy Liu, as she was the noble daughter of the Qingyun sect master. Upon learning that I was already in the room adjacent to hers, although he felt it was somewhat inappropriate, he dismissed the thought, believing a nameless youth like me could never pose a threat to such a noble fairy. With a wave of his hand, he departed. Inside the secret chamber, I had entered a state of complete self-forgetfulness. My transparent spirit root emerged like the roots of a great tree, merging with the high-grade imperial cultivation technique, the true manual of the clear wind. I greedily began to swallow the surrounding spiritual energy without cease. Fairy Lou in the room next door suddenly jolted awake. She realized with horror that the spiritual energy was surging wildly toward the spirit stones. She immediately mobilized her sect's supreme cultivation technique, desperately attempting to vie for the energy. Yet, in competing against a 7th-grade spirit root, the spiritual energy within her began to dissipate even faster than before. He silently stepped out of his secret chamber, glancing through a crack in the door to discern the truth of the situation. He could not help but be moved as he saw me absorbing spiritual energy like an endless black hole. So, the power hidden within that person was truly this terrifying. Could he be the one who possessed the legendary 9th-grade spirit root renowned throughout Guizhou City? At that very moment, a sound that shook the soul emanated from the secret chamber. A surging ripple of energy from the 5th layer of chi refining swept across the space. The guard captain cried out in terror. Despite her astonishment, Fairy Lou maintained her aura of noble arrogance. Truly an exquisite wine, it is worthy of such a prestigious brand. However, I can reluctantly bear the small amount of spiritual energy contained within this cypress. He is not actually much stronger than I am. But after the remnant energy faded, a thunderous explosion echoed once more from within the secret chamber. The violent shock wave of the 6th level of chi refining immediately scattered the dust. Fairy Lou's delicate, beautiful face suddenly changed color. In the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, he had achieved 2 consecutive breakthroughs. A bitter trace of a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Is this the insurmountable barrier between the 7th grade and 9th grade spiritual roots? Yet in his heart he still held on to a final shred of pride. To advance from the 6th level to the 7th is a difference as vast as heaven and earth. In the past, even with top-tier resources, it took me 10 full days. He has surely reached his absolute limit now. Time slipped away, and just as the guard captain prepared to knock on the door to intervene, a terrifying surge of energy suddenly swept across the area, causing him to stagger backward. Having reached the 7th level of chi refining, the guard captain stood frozen in his tracks, for in the span of a mere hour, the youth had leaped from the perfection of the 4th level to the 7th. Fairy Lou's cold, clear eyes were filled with shock. She could not help but mutter in disbelief. Perhaps there are only 2 levels of difference between a 7th grade and a 9th grade root, but how can the disparity be so immense? The woman in purple appeared as if she had suffered a heavy blow, a complete collapse of her mental state. She could never have imagined in her wildest dreams that the 7th grade spiritual root, her source of pride for so long, would pale so significantly in comparison to a 9th grade spiritual root. All the arrogance in her heart had now completely evaporated, leaving only a crushing sense of disappointment to consume her spirit. Drenched in sweat, I stepped out of the secret chamber. Seeing the woman in purple standing outside, I realized that my cultivation had likely disturbed her. I hurriedly cupped my hands and apologized, saying, "My lady, I am terribly sorry to have inconvenienced you." It was not merely an inconvenience, it was a devastating strike to her core. With an incredibly complex expression, she silently watched me. She gazed at me as if to etch my image into the depths of her soul. She bit her lips slightly and her voice rang out cold and crisp. "My name is Lu Qingshan. Remember this name well, and wait for the day you can catch up to my cultivation level. I shall settle the score with you in a battle of life and death." Having said that, she unhooked the purple medallion hanging from her waist. She threw the medallion toward me with resolve and commanded, "Take it. Should you face a life-threatening danger, reveal this item. You are absolutely forbidden from dying so easily." She let out a cold, sharp huff, then flicked her sleeves and turned away, leaving me standing dazed in the middle of the room, my face a mask of bewilderment. What could I have possibly done to incite such fury within her? Why all of a sudden would she insist on a life-or-death duel with me? And to make matters stranger, she forced me to accept this medallion. I raised my hand to scratch my head, my heart filled with confusion. Carrying this bewilderment, I departed from the city lord's manor. Shortly after Lu Qingshan departed from Guizhou City, she rode upon the back of a white crane, soaring into the high heavens. However, she had not traveled far, when suddenly a shroud of pitch-black clouds gathered above her head. She lifted her eyes to investigate what was transpiring, and saw a gargantuan blue eagle gliding through the air, bearing a middle-aged man in white robes who emanated a razor-sharp aura. The formidable pressure radiating from his body suppressed the surrounding gale-force winds entirely. Upon witnessing this sight, Lu Qingshan could not help but turn deathly pale. The disciples of the Qingyun sect hastily knelt in reverence. Lu Qingshan pays her respects to Vice Pavilion Master Chen of the Tianji Pavilion. This individual was none other than one of the 4 Vice Pavilion Masters of the Tianji Pavilion. There was no longer any room for doubt. He was Chen Zhengdao. He had truly arrived with the intention of taking Lu Jin away. "Your father is scouring every corner of the world in search of you. To think you were hiding in such a remote place." Chen Zhengdao and the sect master of the Qingyun sect were in fact martial brothers. On this journey, he had been entrusted to locate the youth's whereabouts while passing through. Looking down at Guizhou City from above, he curiously asked if she had encountered the one with the 9th grade spirit root. The question caused Lu Qingshan's eyes to brim with sudden, stinging redness. With deep resentment, she cried out that he was being entirely too overbearing. Chen Zhengdao stood silent, stunned in disbelief. In his memories, Lu Qingshan had always been an immensely arrogant young girl. As someone who would never submit to anyone, what immense grievances must you have suffered to break down in tears like this? Just how exactly has he bullied you? Tell me everything at once. He asked with a mocking laugh. Lu Qingshan recounted every detail of what he had witnessed. Upon hearing this, the smile on Chen Zhou's face froze completely. This is absolutely impossible. His face was etched with shock and confusion. Are you certain that your perception was not mistaken? In the span of a single hour, in a place with such mundane spiritual energy, could one break through from the 4th level of chi refining to the 7th? I possess an 8th grade spirit root, and I am only a hair's breadth away from the 9th grade. Yet my cultivation speed in the past was not even half of what you have just described. Seeing that even Pavilion Master Chen Zhengdao was this astonished, Liu Qingshan felt a sense of relief wash over him. So even a genius with an 8th grade spirit root can be shaken? In a lighter mood, he chuckled and said to Pavilion Master Chen Zhengdao, why not go and verify it yourself? Everything will be clear then. Besides, I have already given him the Qingyun token. He will be easy enough to recognize. With that, he sauntered away, humming a tune and leaving Chen Zhengdao standing there in a daze. Is the disparity between the 9th grade and the 8th grade truly this terrifying? I simply cannot believe it. When I returned to the estate, I found it in total chaos, with the servants frantically scrubbing every nook and cranny, and even the patriarch Xu Zhengyan was personally overseeing the preparations. Xu Yuran was also nearby, lending a helping hand. What is all this commotion about? I asked, brimming with curiosity. Xu Zhengyan glared at me with fury and barked, what are you standing there for? Get over here and help immediately. Xu Yuran handed me a cleaning cloth. She looked anxious as she whispered to me. Xiaofan, the city lord, has just sent word. The exalted guest, so the exalted one sent to retrieve the genius with the grade 9 spirit root has finally arrived? Has the time finally come? Zhongfan, why are you still standing there staring blankly? Why have you not yet set yourself to work for me? Lu Zhen, draped in brand new silks and fine brocades, stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He strode forward with an air of immense arrogance. He roared, if my grand affair is ruined, not even 10 of your heads would suffice to pay the price. I tossed the cleaning rag onto the ground and responded coldly, writing on a piece of paper, what does your business have to do with me? The people from the Heavenly Mystery Pavilion are here to see you, Lu Zhen. On what grounds must I be the one to clean and serve you? Lu Zhen wore a mocking, insincere smile, his eyes filled with disdain for my ignorance. Today is the day I shall soar to greatness and ascend the ranks. Countless people outside are desperate for even a moment to curry favor with me and latch onto my coattails. Yet you are truly something else. You do not even know how to treasure the opportunity to polish my chair. Wang Yingfeng stood to the side, adding fuel to the fire. Zheng'er, why waste your breath on a mute? Some are born inherently lowly. No matter how one tries to elevate them, they will never be able to hold their heads high. In the midst of their conversation, Qin Changsheng arrived, having heard of the news. He cupped his hands and greeted the young Master Lu with a loud laugh. This old man wishes to offer his congratulations. This humble gift is but a pittance compared to my genuine sincerity. I only hope that in the future, young Master Lu, once you have attained prosperity, you will deign to look favorably upon the Qin family. Behind him, several burly men carried crates of low-GTE refining fluid worth at least 300,000 silver taels. Su Zhongyan saw this and his heart trembled in such extreme terror that he did not even dare to reach out and accept the offering. Lu Zhen, however, laughed arrogantly, refusing nothing. Patriarch Qin, you have arrived at the perfect time. Come closer. Every servant working here shall receive 1 bottle each. Naturally, this excludes that person who always considers himself so noble. From house servants to clan members, everyone shall receive a reward. I alone remained empty-handed. Lu Zhen, gloating and puffed up with pride, called out Zhongfan's name. Do you feel regret now? To lose out on such a precious bottle of spirit fluid, is this loss of a low-grade chi refining bottle not far too great for you? I lightly brushed my hand against my chest to ensure the 10 bottles of supreme-grade chi refining fluid hidden within remained undisturbed. I leisurely took up my brush and wrote that, if I were in his position, I would never accept these gifts before setting foot into the Heavenly Mystery Pavilion. Should he fail to enter, what would he have left to leverage? Lu Zhen sneered, watching as he assumed this piece of trash was merely seething with jealousy. Qin Changsheng responded with cold mockery, Zhongfan, since I have already offered it willingly, young Master Lu will surely accept it with grace. Since when did it become your place to meddle in affairs that do not concern you? I cast a silent, piercing gaze toward Qin Changsheng, every word I spoke carved into the air with chilling clarity. I only fear that Patriarch Qin will end up with nothing to show for his efforts. By the time regret settles in, it will be far too late. Upon hearing this, Qin Changsheng threw his head back and let out a boisterous laugh. And why would I ever regret relying on a man of such extraordinary caliber? On the path to the heavens, how could there possibly be any room for regret? At that very moment, a violent gale suddenly erupted. A massive azure rock descended, its wings spanning wide enough to blot out the entire sky. It slowly drifted down, hovering directly above the Lu residence. A figure exuding an indomitable and fierce aura leaped from the beast, landing amidst the glow of the moonlight. The crowd held their collective breath. The man glanced at me with deep emotion before calling out, Zhongfan, the most glorious moment of my life has finally arrived. Open your eyes wide and watch closely. Witness how I back then leaped over the dragon gate to transform into a true dragon of the 9 heavens. As the azure rock descended to the ground, Chen Zhengdao officially revealed himself, with Xu Zhongyan waiting in immediate attendance. Lu Zhen led the entire clan of the Lu residents, and with one motion they dropped to one knee to respectfully welcome the arrival of the honored guest from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Chen Zhengdao offered a knowing smile. I am the Deputy Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, Chen Zhengdao. Deputy Pavilion Master Chen Zhengdao. The spectators present were struck with shock and awe. None could have expected the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion to dispatch a Deputy Pavilion Master in person. It was clear how much importance they placed on a ninth-grade spirit root. The level of reverence displayed was truly astonishing. Which one of you is the possessor of the ninth-grade spirit root? Chen Zhengdao inquired with palpable urgency. Naturally, he was overflowing with curiosity toward the genius, who had broken through 3 consecutive realms in the span of a single incense stick. All eyes in the assembly turned instinctively toward Lu Zhen. Lu Zhen puffed out his chest and held his head high. He proudly cupped his hands and spoke in a resounding voice. Junior Lu Zhen pays his respects to Deputy Pavilion Master Chen. Chen Zhengdao stepped forward hastily to help him up, his eyes unable to conceal his admiration. Not bad at all. Your appearance truly befits a talent of such distinction. He gripped Lu Zhen's hand warmly, telling him there was no need for tension. Now that I think of it, I also hail from the neighboring Biliao city. 30 years ago, I possessed an 8th-grade spirit root, yet you possess the 9th. This is surely the hand of fate bringing us together. Hearing this, the crowd finally came to a realization. Qin Changsheng grew even more exhilarated. He clenched his fist, silently affirming to himself that he had indeed placed his bet on the right person. This was not merely a matter of fate, it held a much deeper significance. Tran Chin Dao was set to become a steadfast pillar of support for Lu Tring at the Tiankou Pavilion. After exchanging brief pleasantries, the group entered the main hall. Tran Chin Dao, seated in the position of honor, smiled and spoke to Lu Trin. Little Lu, the power of your 9th-grade spirit root. I have heard rumors of your reputation throughout my journey for quite some time now. Even that haughty and frigid maiden from the Thonvan sect was moved to tears of anger by you. Would you be willing to demonstrate your abilities here for me to witness? I am curious about the strange phenomenon that occurs whenever you circulate your spirit root. Lu Trin was momentarily bewildered. Which maiden could he be referring to? However, he quickly regained his composure. This was a clear request for him to showcase his strength before the high-ranking members of the Tiankou Pavilion, a rare opportunity to distinguish himself in the eyes of all present. A cold, sardonic smile surfaced in his heart, and he pointed directly toward me, standing in the shadows of the crowd. Respected Vice Pavilion Master Tran, would it be possible to settle this through a trial of combat instead? I wish to engage in a life-or-death battle with Quang Pham once more. Tran Chen Dao followed the direction of his finger, and upon realizing that I was merely a silent youth who could not speak, his brow furrowed in doubt. A deceptive manipulator like Lu Trin immediately began to weave a web of falsehoods. Vice Pavilion Master Tran, there are matters you are not yet fully aware of. The woman who holds my heart was snatched away by him through a forced marriage contract. I sought to reclaim my beloved by challenging him to a duel, yet who would have expected him to employ treacherous, heretical methods to defeat me? This time, I request that you act as witness so that I may reclaim my beloved through honorable means. Vuong Ungfeng hurried forward to echo his sentiments. I humbly report to Vice Pavilion Master Tran such events have indeed occurred. This man Quang Pham relies on past favors to act with complete disregard for the heavens. He has forced my daughter to marry him. My nephew sought to rescue his beloved, only to be thwarted by his deceitful schemes. Tan Chuang Sin immediately offered his word as a member of the noble Tan clan, affirming that these claims were absolute truth. The expression on Tran Chen Dao's face turned icy. He looked toward me with an imposing gaze and declared that one who exploits old favors to force others is no better than a common thief. Do you dare to demonstrate your true cultivation and engage in a trial against Lu Trin? Hua Unhian. She prepared to speak in my defense, but I promptly raised my hand to stop her. I lowered my brush and wrote that there was no point in wasting words. If a matter can be resolved with one's fists, there is no need for empty talk. I then fixed my gaze upon Lu Zhen and wrote only 3 words. How shall we duel? Lu Zhen drew his sword with a flourish and arrogantly declared, naturally we test our true strength. Do you have the courage to measure yourself against me? In his heart he scoffed, confident that he had reached the 5th layer of qi refining, having also painstakingly mastered several exquisite sword techniques, while Zhang Fen had merely stumbled his way to the 3rd layer of qi refining. What could he possibly use to contend with him? Unfazed, I stepped into the center of the grand hall with my hands behind my back, gesturing for him to approach with a look of utter disdain. Qin Changsheng mocked, wondering how ignorant one must be to provoke a genius with a 9th-grade spirit root, adding that once he was lying defeated on the ground like a mangy dog, he would have to ask if I felt any regret for my actions. Chen Zhengdao also sighed, shaking his head, believing the youth to be overly arrogant. Such a contemptuous attitude had completely enraged Lu Zhen. He let out a roar, fuming, you brought this upon yourself. He unleashed the mountain-splitting strike, the surging spiritual energy of a 5th-layer key-refining practitioner, driving the blade downward with immense force. I offered a faint, indifferent smile. It had been so many days, yet he had not made even the slightest improvement. With a light flick of my finger against the blade, I instantly unleashed the spiritual energy of the 6th layer of qi refining. Under such overwhelming power, the sword in Lu Zhen's hand was sent flying immediately. Before he could regain his composure, I transformed my finger into a sword strike and lunged directly before him. In his panic, he roared and swung his fist in retaliation, attempting to salvage the last of his dignity. A thunderous explosion echoed through the hall as Lu Zhen's heavy frame was sent flying by a single palm strike from me. He crashed into a tea table, shattering it to pieces, and the entire room fell into a chilling, deathly silence. I calmly brushed the dust from my sleeves, picked up my brush, and wrote a single line. A ninth-grade spirit root is nothing more than this. The ninth-grade genius had been defeated, and he had lost so swiftly and miserably. Everyone present was utterly unable to foresee such an outcome. Xu Yining's gaze flickered incessantly. She stared at Lu Zhen, whose mouth was filled with fresh blood, lost in deep contemplation. Wang Yingfeng rushed over in distress to help him up, crying, "Zhener, were you perhaps too careless and underestimated your opponent?" Qin Changsheng hurriedly shoved a medicinal pill into his mouth to treat his injuries. "Young Master Lu, you must not be negligent simply out of respect for old ties. The pavilion master of the divine talismans is watching, after all." The crowd began frantically searching for every possible excuse to justify Lu Zhen's defeat. Yet Chen Zhengdao furrowed his brows deeply, suddenly recalling the words Liu Qingxian had once spoken. Having reached a ninth-grade spirit root, he managed to break through 3 levels of cultivation within a single hour. Yet how is it that he is now being utterly decimated by someone at the qi refining stage? Could it be that someone only at the 6th level of qi refining could defeat him so effortlessly? He stared intensely at Lu Zhen, attempting to discern whether he truly possessed a ninth-grade spirit root. "If you dare to deceive me, do you have any concept of the miserable consequences that await you?" The members of the Shu family were startled and filled with dread upon hearing this. Lu Zhen's pupils constricted in terror. He hurriedly exclaimed that he would swear an oath to the heavens, asserting that there was not a single word of falsehood in his claim. He insisted that the previous outcome was merely due to his own arrogance and underestimation of the opponent, and he requested a rematch to prove his true strength. Chen Zhengdao gave a slight nod before turning to ask for my thoughts on the matter. Without a moment's hesitation, I wrote my reply. "He will never be able to defeat me. Just now I had suppressed my own cultivation realm and utilized less than half of my true power, yet even with that fraction of my strength he was unable to mount a defense. This so-called ninth-grade spirit root of his is truly riddled with deception." Incensed by these words, Lu Zhen flew into a rage, roaring like a maddened beast that had lost its sanity. "Zhang, what kind of ability is it to rely on sneak attacks? Kneel before me." He lunged forward ferociously, resembling a wild savage predator. Due to his reckless impulsivity, the blood eagle left his entire body wide open. I seized the opportunity without hesitation. I dodged the sword strike with a lean of my body and delivered a swift kick directly to his chest. Lu Zhen was sent flying backward once again, vomiting a large mouthful of blood. It was evident that he had suffered grave internal injuries. If the first instance was attributed to a mere lapse in judgment, how would one explain this second defeat? Increasingly, more clan members began to perceive the suspicious nature of the situation. Doubts regarding the authenticity of his spirit root began to spread, though Wang Yingfeng remained stubbornly blinded by her delusions. The ninth-grade spirit root is an undeniable truth. Chen Qingdao let out a cold, dismissive huff and casually tossed a small bronze ruler toward him. He dropped the object directly in front of him and commanded, "Test it again, immediately." Lu Zhen wore a miserable, broken smile. "Are you all truly going to deny my spirit root just because I lost 2 bouts? I will prove it so that all of you may see the truth with your own eyes." Driven by intense humiliation and overflowing rage, he gripped the bronze ruler tightly and roared at Xu Zhengyan. "If you dare to doubt me, then you are not worthy of traversing the world by my side." Qin Changsheng shouted in a panic, calling out to young Master Lu, "I have always trusted you. The Qin family places their absolute trust in you." Lu Jin nodded slightly, moved, but immediately afterward a look of madness appeared on his face as he glared at me. "Zhongfan, open your eyes wide and look closely. Witness how brilliant this ninth-grade spiritual root truly is." He suddenly clenched his 5 fingers and a tremor from deep within surged straight upward. It reached the 1st grade, then the 2nd, and the 3rd. But upon reaching the 3rd grade, the fluctuations began to crawl with the sluggishness of a snail. In the end, it stopped with great difficulty at the 3rd grade. It hung right between the middle and upper tiers, unable to advance even half a step. A deathly silence fell over the entire assembly. Someone rumored to possess a 9th-grade spiritual root like Lu Zhen had yielded a result of only middle-tier 3rd grade. Lu Zhen muttered in a daze, consumed by despair. How could such a thing happen? There must be something wrong with this measuring rod. He tried again frantically, but the result remained as miserable as before. He began to howl senselessly that the rod was broken, insisting that it must be faulty. Xu Yining could no longer bear to watch this display. She stood up, stepped forward, and grasped the bronze measuring rod. The fluctuations immediately shattered the 3rd grade threshold. Spiritual energy surged up the rod, rapidly ascending until it struck the cold blue light of the 6th grade. She felt the burden lift from her heart and looked at Lu Zhen. "It seems there was nothing wrong with the rod. The one with the problem is you." The entire crowd was thrown into an uproar. Whispers erupted like a rising tide. "What on earth is happening? He isn't a high-grade genius at all. I wasted days trying to curry favor with him. It's absolutely nauseating." The head of the Qin family, who gifted those 300,000 refinement liquids, is perhaps the most miserable person here. Wang Yingfeng hurriedly intervened, ordering her daughter to be silent. "My Zhener is certainly not a mere 3rd-grade talent. Are you still harboring such vain hopes?" Su Yining coldly interrupted. "You should have realized the truth from that first moment of arrogance. In the short span of 3 days, even with the addition of resources, it could not turn the tide. The outcome had been decided long ago. The stone that had weighed heavily on his heart for so long could finally be set down. With that 6th grade spiritual root now revealed, he remained with pride the preeminent genius of Guju City. Wang Yingfeng bit her lip, unable to utter a word, only offering pale comforts to the utterly shattered Lu Zhen. Does there truly exist no such? To him, a 3rd grade intermediate talent was not entirely unacceptable. Lu Zhen nodded with reluctance, consoling himself that this was the best possible outcome. Even Xu Yining had only attained the 6th grade. It would seem I am not that far behind them. Little did he know. Chen Zhengdao's face turned pale as he retracted the copper ruler, uttering a cold remark that struck Lu Zhen like a bolt of lightning. Who told you that Guchu City possesses no 9th grade spirit root? It is simply that such a rank does not belong to you. With a thunderous boom, Lu Zhen's eyes widened in horror, and his heart, having just found peace, suffered yet another devastating blow. So a 9th grade spirit root truly exists? But why is that person not me? This overwhelming sense of disappointment caused him to spew a mouthful of blood right there, a truly wretched sight. He collapsed to the ground, his entire body convulsing in agony. The person suffering a similar shock was none other than Xu Yining. She clenched her fists tightly, unable to accept that Guchu City truly harbored a genius with a 9th grade spirit root. Could it be that this testing tower had malfunctioned? Chen Zhengdao frowned as he replied. Although he did not know why the copper ruler might have erred, Guchu City was indeed hiding a true 9th grade talent. The daughter of the Qingyun sectmaster had witnessed this person with her own eyes not long ago, lamenting that she could not compare. Although he possessed the Qingyun token left behind by Lu Qingxian as a guide, the other party refused to show their face and he had no idea where to search, so he had no choice but to return to the Qingyun sect before making further plans. Xu Yining tried to steady his mind, looking up at the sky with a heart full of doubt. He must be a dragon among men, a paragon of peerless strength at the edge of the world. He glanced with disdain at Zhang Fan, who stood silently to the side, and seeing that he had stolen the glorious spotlight today, he felt even more resentful and deeply unsettled. Zhang Fan, having defeated a 9th grade spirit root, you must be feeling quite arrogant. Lu Zhen has not focused on his cultivation at all these past years. His foundation is unstable, and his swordsmanship is far from perfection. There is nothing impressive about defeating him. I am merely pondering who this true 9th grade talent could be. He did not bother to pay heed to those spiteful words, turning to look at Xu Yuran as he wrote, "Are you astonished?" Xu Yuran's eyes were filled with brilliance. She nodded repeatedly in praise, saying, "Little fan, you are truly formidable." My refusal to regard Xu Yining with any reverence only deepened his irritation and resentment. He even began to harbor a sense of bitter frustration at being surpassed by his elder sister. At that moment, Chen Zhengdao rode his flying eagle tearing through the firmament. Xu Zhengyan slumped into his chair, exhaling a breath of relief. It was fortunate that Deputy Pavilion Master Chen did not pursue the matter of impersonation, otherwise, the Xu family would have faced a catastrophic disaster. Yet a roar of fury suddenly erupted from the void. Lu Zhen and Qin Changsheng burst inside, their features twisted in rage. He shrieked, calling the other a piece of trash, claiming that the Qin family had not only lost all face, but the betrothal gifts, worth 300,000 taels of silver, had been squandered by Lu Zhen down to the last copper. Now, even if they wished to demand their return, it was impossible. Lu Zhen's complexion turned deathly pale, drained of all color. He hid behind Wang Yunfeng, attempting to persuade the head of the Qin family to temper his anger. "I will find a way to repay you in full." "Repay? With what do you intend to pay me back?" Qin Chong's eyes were bloodshot with rage. The cultivation base of a first-stage foundation establishment practitioner erupted from his body. His overwhelming pressure suppressed the entire hall. "You have 3 days to gather the full amount. If you fail, do not blame me for being heartless and showing no mercy." Once Qin Changsheng had departed, Xu Zhengyan stared at Lu Zhen with fury, shouting, "You disaster! Get out of my sight!" The Xu family has no place for a white-eyed wolf who lacks even a shred of gratitude. Wang Yunfeng began to wail incessantly, stubbornly insisting on taking the burden upon herself so her nephew Xu Zhengyan could be free of the debt. A massive debt of 300,000 taels of silver. Do you wish for this entire clan to live on nothing but thin air? This debt shall be borne by Lu Zhen himself. Wang Yunfeng's attempts to cause a scene were futile, so she turned all her resentment toward me. Why did you not show even a modicum of leniency toward Lu Zhen just now? If you had conceded to him, none of these troubles would have transpired. Xu Yuran retorted in anger at Wang's words. To say such things is utterly outrageous. It is clear that this Lu Zhen has always been the one bullying Xiao Fan. Wang Yunfeng shrieked, "Are you intending to rebel against me now? I give Jiang Fan 3 days to bring the betrothal gifts and submit them here. If I am not satisfied, do not dream of this marriage ever coming to fruition." Xu Yuran's face turned pale with anxiety. She was about to plead on my behalf, but I gripped her hand firmly. I set my brush to paper and wrote, showing no courtesy whatsoever. "If the betrothal gifts are what determine your satisfaction, then from this day forth, keep your foul mouth shut. I have tolerated Wang Yunfeng for far too long. Time and again she has indulged Lu Zhen, all while repeatedly trampling upon Xu Yuran. This time, I will ensure she no longer has the opportunity to interfere or dictate the terms of our marriage." Wang Yunfeng was so infuriated that his eyes seemed ready to burst as he roared. "Very well, it seems you have some courage after all. As long as you truly bring a betrothal gift that satisfies me, I will never concern myself with the matters between you two again. But mark my words, it must be a gift that leaves me genuinely pleased. Do you understand?" I calmly wrote down a single line of text, then replied, "Then you might as well wait in silence." Wang Yunfeng gritted his teeth and stormed off toward the inner chambers. Xu Zhonggu looked at me with an expression of pure astonishment. He could not help but view me in an entirely different light. It seems you have a bit of backbone, kid. Though as a father he felt a secret sense of relief, he knew all too well that gathering a lavish betrothal gift in merely 3 days was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. He quietly calculated whether he should use his private funds to offer me some assistance. After everyone had dispersed, Xu Yuran followed me into the room, her face filled with anxiety. She called out with deep concern, Xiaofan, you truly should not have agreed to that just now. Do you not know why Aunt Wang is demanding such an extravagant gift? Furthermore, the deadline she set is exactly 3 days. I offered a faint smile and replied, is she not trying to scrape together a massive sum of silver to help her precious nephew clean up his mess? As long as the betrothal gift exceeds 300,000 taels, no matter how much he might resent agreeing, for the sake of Lu Zhen's future, she will have no choice but to bite her tongue and accept it. Xu Yoran struck me in anger. You knew all of this and still dared to accept? That is 300,000 taels of silver. Where do you intend to source that kind of money? Do you plan on robbing the money exchange? I muttered under my breath, the money in the exchange may not even equal what I possess. I once promised to bring you home in a grand and honorable manner. Even if Wang Yunfeng had not demanded it, I had long since prepared a lavish gift. As night fell and Yoran departed, I began the process of refining the qi refining liquid. By the time dawn broke, 40 bottles of superior grade and 20 bottles of peak grade liquid lay before me. The efficacy of the peak grade qi refining liquid had increased significantly. I prepared to sell these superior grade vials to the Chen family in exchange for 400,000 taels in banknotes, which, when added to the wealth I have accumulated, this was a staggering fortune totaling 900,000 taels. Just as I stepped out the door, Xu Yuran hurried over and called out to Xiaofan softly. Chen Sealing has invited me to be a guest at her estate, and she specifically instructed me to bring you along. She and I are like sisters, close and trusted, and for this matter regarding the betrothal gifts, I intend to ask for her assistance. When we meet her shortly, you must conduct yourself with the utmost propriety. Do you understand? Perhaps she is our only hope now. Does conducting myself with propriety mean I must refine more of these spiritual trinkets? I had no choice but to accompany her to the Chen estate. Upon reaching the gates, I made an excuse to go purchase some snacks. Seizing the opportunity, I slipped into a side alley to don my Soulmaster attire, then proceeded toward the Chen manor alone. The shopkeeper, upon seeing me, exclaimed with delight, "Senior, why have you arrived so early?" He hurried to lead me to meet the young mistress. In the rear courtyard of the Chen estate, Chen Siling was practicing her swordplay with a heavy heart when she caught sight of my arrival. A flicker of joy passed through her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of inner turmoil. She remained conflicted, wondering whether she should truly accept the implications of this senior before her. She silently gripped the truth-piercing crystal hidden in her sleeve, struggling to compose her spirit, her face flushed from the exertion of her training. I placed 40 bottles of high-grade refining fluid on the table and spoke nonchalantly, "Everything is here." After Chen Siling had anxiously inspected and verified every item, from the banknotes to the medicinal herbs scattered across the ground, she intentionally maintained a distance and spoke, "These items are all accounted for, Senior." Seeing her look of extreme wariness, I could not help but feel a twinge of astonishment in my heart. Am I truly so terrifying that she believes I might devour her whole? Just as I finished collecting my things and prepared to depart, Chen Sealing suddenly called out, "Senior, please, stay your steps. Would you not care to partake in a cup of tea before leaving? This junior has diligently prepared a bowl of premium tea for you." Feeling a bit hungry, I decided to sit down to enjoy the tea. Taking the opportunities, Chen Sealing turned slightly away. She placed 2 thin shards of the truth-piercing crystal over her eyes, silently praying in her heart that this senior would not appear too aged or possess a hideous countenance. I drew a deep breath to steady my composure. She turned to look at me, trembling. Through the lens of that magical artifact, she had pierced through my heavy layers of disguise. The very moment the crystal reflected my true appearance, Tran Tu Lin was struck completely motionless. While I sat with my head bowed, calmly sipping tea, I remained entirely oblivious. Tran Tu Lin had silently applied the truth-piercing crystal to her eyes. Transcending all those layers of camouflage, what she beheld was a face, young and incredibly handsome, possessing an aura so ethereal and refined it was, as if an immortal had descended to the mortal realm. She was clearly shaken to the point of speechlessness. Here in the humble lands of the Thonvan sect, a second-grade soulmaster is already considered a supreme figure, yet this genius before her eyes was impossibly young. "What is the matter with you?" Noticing a strange shift in her gaze, I spoke up to inquire. "No, it is nothing at all." Tran Tu Lin averted her eyes in a panic, and I vaguely sensed that something was amiss. Setting down my teacup and rising from my seat, I still had matters that required my attention, so I shall take my leave. With those words, I turned and walked away, my silhouette slowly fading into the distance. Tran Tu Lin stood there, stunned, her heart unable to find its calm. She had already been wavering on whether to sacrifice herself for the sake of her family. At this moment, her cheeks flushed with a faint crimson, and a strange newfound resolve surged within her heart. I removed my black cloak, changed back into my standard robes, and carrying the bag of pastries I had just purchased, I hurried back toward the city manor. Meanwhile, inside the rear courtyard, Tran Tu Lin was holding Unhian's hand, recounting everything that had transpired over the past 2 days. "Tulin, have you truly made up your mind?" Eunhyeon looked at her, her eyes filled with deep concern. Even if the man is indeed a youth, he appears to be nothing more than a lecherous individual with wicked intentions. Once he has taken possession of you, there is no guarantee he will be willing to bear any responsibility. Trantulin laughed at herself, remarking that as a daughter of a great clan, what freedom could one possibly possess? Even if I do not take the initiative to sacrifice myself, sooner or later the clan will marry me off to someone I do not love, where I will be nothing more than a pawn used for political alliance. Now I must surrender myself to a second-grade soulmaster. I ask you, what difference does it make? She let out a faint sigh, a sound heavy with regret. As long as he can train soulmaster apprentices for the Chen family, I am willing to accept this fate. If he truly treats me with kindness, I shall remain loyal, but should he treat me as a mere tool, then I shall never marry in this lifetime. Upon hearing this, Yuran's heart tightened with sorrow, yet she found herself helpless to intervene. Speaking of the marriage arrangements, Chen Silin expressed immense dissatisfaction with my lack of progress, frustrated that I had not even managed to set a formal date. What manner of man is he, truly? At that moment, a servant entered to report that a man named Jiang Fan, claiming to be the fiancé of young lady Shu, was waiting outside. Chen Silin responded with cold indifference, prompting Yuran to hurriedly plead, "Please, do not be like this. Xiao Fan is actually a very good man. He was only delayed because he wanted to prepare a special token of his sincerity. Please, do not blame him any further." Consumed by resentment, Chen Silin angrily pressed her finger against Yuran's forehead. "Yuran, it is not that I wish to scold you, but how can you treat your life's greatest milestone as a mere game? Your aunt is clearly determined to bind you to a mute, solely to ruin your future. Her heart is truly venomous." Yuran explained miserably, "Silin, even if this was an unforeseen mishap, I can feel his sincerity. I believe that in the future, he will treat me well." "What use is sincerity?" Chen Silin demanded, her tone sharp and cutting. "Let me ask you, can his heart full of sincerity be traded for the necessary bridal gifts?" At the mention of the 30,000 taels required for the dowry, Yuran fell silent, unable to utter a single word. Chen Silin clenched her fists with unwavering resolve. "Yuran, you are the most pitiable soul in this situation. You were destined for a brilliant and prosperous life. Yet you are being forced to take your sister's place and marry a mute. I cannot simply stand by and watch you cast yourself into this pit of fire. As for those 30,000 taels, I will not lift a finger to help him. I will never allow him to destroy your life." At that very moment, I walked through the long corridor and stepped into the inner courtyard. The servant whispered his report, and Tran Tu Lam's eyes suddenly turned icy cold. He stared fixedly in my direction. Arriving at just the right time, I was determined to make him realize the folly of his actions and force him to retreat. Inside, Huanyan pleaded anxiously with Tu Lam, "I beg of you, can you please not do this? Xiao Fan has worked so hard. It has not been easy for him to finally make progress on his path of martial cultivation. I implore you, do not wound his pride." Yet Tran Tu Lam remained adamant in his desire to drive a wedge between us. "Rest assured, I have no intention of humiliating him. I only wish to speak with him heart to heart and lay everything out on the table. Regarding your future together, if he is a man of responsibility, he should understand clearly what the correct choice ought to be." I followed the maid toward the back courtyard, only to be blocked right at the entrance of the gate. The back courtyard is restricted to female guests only. "Young master, please remain here and wait." This was the young lady's command, and in my heart I felt a sense of profound helplessness. This Tran Tu Lam had always shown himself to be gentle, obedient, and utterly respectful toward my status as a soul master. Yet at this very moment he assumed an overbearing and tyrannical posture. He stood behind the wall and called out, "Are you indeed Jiang Fan, Eunhyeon's betrothed?" I calmly picked up my brush, wrote a sentence upon a piece of paper, and tossed it over the wall. "Indeed, that is I." Tran Tu Lam glanced at the note. He offered a cold, mocking smile. "I am a dear friend of Eunhyeon. I wish to ask you a few questions now. I hope you will answer with complete honesty. Do you seek to marry Eunhyeon out of genuine love, or are you merely fawning over the Hua clan, hoping to live off a woman's fortune?" Eunhyeon's expression was one of desperate entreaty. She expected me to be shamed into silence, wishing for a hole in the ground to hide in. But the very next second, I nonchalantly pulled out 5 pristine banknotes, each valued at 10,000 taels, and flung them directly into the courtyard. "Xiao Fan, where did you obtain so much money?" Uni exclaimed in sheer astonishment. "I possessed 900,000 taels in total. A mere 50,000 was nothing more than a drop in the ocean." I recalled the past and offered a faint, indifferent smile, responding by tossing another slip of paper toward Miss Tran. "You may proceed with your second question now." Tran Tu Lam stood frozen, stunned by the 50,000 taels that had fallen from the sky. She gripped the banknote tightly, gritted her teeth, and continued her interrogation. "Even if you have managed to hoard some wealth, do you truly possess the strength to protect Eunhyeon? If you genuinely love Hua Eunhyeon, you would be wise to let her go. You are fundamentally incapable of protecting her." Before her words could even fade, a sound like a heaven-shattering crack echoed through the air. The wall that had stood between us for so long had been pierced, leaving a massive gaping hole under the sheer force of my 7th-layer Qi refinement aura. Chen Tulin felt the intensity of my cultivation realm, and his expression shifted into one of sheer terror. 7th-layer Qi refinement? He turned his head toward Eunhyeon, seeking confirmation. Was it not claimed that this man possessed no spiritual roots? Eunhyeon could only offer a pained explanation, while I provocatively tossed the 3rd slip of paper forward and asked, "Do you still have questions to ask? This brat actually dares to be this arrogant." Chen Tulin stomped his foot in a fit of rage, shouting, "So what if you have gained some minor cultivation? What can you possibly provide for Unian? If she marries into a prestigious family, she will have access to endless resources and every cultivation technique known to this world. Do you possess anything of the sort?" I remained silent for a moment before tossing a small pouch onto the table. Chen Tulin signaled for his maid to open it. 5 vials of high-grade qi refining fluid appeared before their eyes. He was struck with disbelief and stammered, "Where did you acquire high-grade qi refining fluid such as this?" He then reached into the bottom of the pouch and pulled out a book with its cover torn off. The moment he flipped to the first page of the technique manual, he was so terrified that he tumbled backward off his chair. A high-tier Huang-grade mental cultivation method, this was a top-tier resource that even the wealthiest clans could not easily bestow. Without haste, I threw the final letter onto the table. "Is there anything else you wish to ask?" As the eldest son of the Chen family, when had Chen Tulin ever been forced to endure such a stinging slap to the face from someone he deemed a mere kept man? Gritting his teeth, he unsheathed the sword on the table and roared, "Get over here. I want to see, right in front of my brother, if you can still walk around with such insolence. Unian, if you cannot stop him, then do not try to stop me. Today I must teach him a lesson he will not soon forget." Under Chen Tulin's furious gaze, my subordinate stepped through the fractured wall, appearing before him with a gentle rustle of robes. The moment he beheld my face, Chen Tulin was struck as if by a divine thunderbolt, freezing in place, completely stunned. "Who is this that I am looking at? Is this the Soul Master Senior?" Chen Tulin's mind went blank, and his heart was overwhelmed with profound shock. The silent trash of Koshao City was actually the very same second-grade Soul Master who had intended to intervene. The fiancé of his best friend's sister was, in fact, an influential figure that the Chen family could not afford to offend. "Tulin, do not be angry anymore. Xiaofan, look at how much you have agitated him. Quickly offer him an apology." The anxious voice of Xu Wenhian echoed out. Tran Tu Lam jolted awake, no longer daring to cause the slightest bit of trouble. Not only did she retract her spirit sword, but her entire attitude shifted drastically. "It was not that I was momentarily agitated," she claimed. "Rather, it is that I have offended young Master Jiang. She timidly invited me to sit, even going so far as to personally serve me tea. 'Young Master Jiang, please have some tea,' she said." This spectacle left Xu Unhian completely stunned. Moments ago, she had been threatening death, yet now she was being unexpectedly courteous. She awkwardly attempted to mediate. "Xiaofan Tulam is my dearest friend. What happened just now was merely her way of testing you. I hope you will not take it to heart." I nodded and wrote the word understood, though Tran Tu Lam now felt incredibly uneasy, terrified that she had truly crossed me. Her voice became gentle, even tinged with a note of flattery. "Young Master Jiang, I heard from Unhian that the Shu family matriarch has been making things difficult regarding your betrothal gifts. Unhian and I have been close friends for many years. In a moment, I shall issue an order to produce 30,000 taels of silver. I hope this may be of some assistance to you, young Master Jiang." Shu Unhian grew even more astonished. Had Tran Tu Lam not been adamantly against helping just a moment ago? Following that, Tran Tu Lam further shifted her attitude, becoming overly assertive and taking charge. She showered me with attentive gestures, which left both myself and Shu Unhian feeling quite uncomfortable. Inside the carriage on the way home, Shu Unhian was visibly dejected, her tone thick with the scent of jealousy. "It seems that Tran Tu Lam has fallen for you." I was startled and widened my eyes, quickly writing, "Do not speak such nonsense. I have never seen her show this much concern for any man before. At first, she was aggressive and intimidating, but the moment she laid eyes on you, she became a completely different person." The rims of Shunhin's eyes suddenly reddened. She spoke in a self-deprecating whisper. "If you find her to be a better match, then by all means, choose her. I will certainly not utter a single word of resentment against you, whether it be in family background or—" I immediately reached out and pulled her into a tight embrace. "You fool," I said, gazing at her with the utmost sincerity. "My feelings for you have never changed from the very beginning. It was you who saved my life when I was at my lowest. This deep debt of gratitude is something I could never repay in a single lifetime." After I had comforted Union and set her mind at ease, I instructed her to diligently practice the high-grade cultivation technique of Huangji, while promising that I would certainly settle the matter of the betrothal gifts. Upon returning to the Hua residence, we discovered several luxurious carriages parked before the gates, with chests of betrothal gifts stacked high, filling the entire main hall. Wang Fuang smiled so broadly she could hardly contain herself. "Unhian, come here quickly. Come and meet young Master Chu. You surely still remember him, do you not?" Sitting in the center of the hall was a handsome young man in fine robes. He was indeed Chu Qian Than. He had now become a foundation establishment stage expert with 5 years of cultivation, and his background was truly extraordinary. Recalling how he had attempted to humiliate Union years ago, only to be driven away by my father due to that old grudge, my gaze turned icy cold in an instant. "Young Master Chu has returned from the Qingyun Sick to recuperate, and he has come here specifically to ask for your hand in marriage." Watchin Gon sighed and explained clearly that I already had a fiancé, asking young Master Chu to kindly take his betrothal gifts back. Union also vehemently voiced her opposition. Wang Yongfuang retorted with bitter mockery, asking if Kwang Fan had even provided any betrothal gifts yet. Could he possibly bring as much as young Master Chu had brought today? This is a full 500,000 taels of silver. Would that wretched Kwang Fan ever be able to produce such a sum? Chu Qian then looked at me with eyes filled with provocation. and in his eyes these 500,000 taels were more than enough to crush me completely. Hua Unian felt as anxious as if her heart were being scorched by fire. Even if Tran Tu Lam were willing to lend her 300,000, it would still be impossible to bridge this gap of 500,000. But I merely let out a cold, faint smile, picked up a brush and wrote down a line of text showing no courtesy whatsoever. To have spent 5 years at the Qingyun sect, and yet you can only manage a meager 500,000 in betrothal gifts. The members of the Hua family looked at one another in astonishment. Luke Trin could not help but spit out a biting, sarcastic remark. Only you, Kwang Fan, would dare to speak such words. Have you perhaps forgotten your own place? At this very moment, you are still living under another man's roof, dependent on their charity. Wang Yingfeng's face twisted into an even deeper expression of disdain. If your hearing is failing you, I am more than willing to repeat myself. This right here is the 500,000 taels of silver for the betrothal gift. 500,000, not some heap of worthless trash. A man who cannot even scrape together 5 coins to his name. How dare you stand here and speak such arrogant nonsense without a hint of shame? Chu Jianshen flicked open his folding fan, waving it rhythmically, and said with a squinted smile, Wang Yi, brother Lu, please be lenient toward Zhang Fan. After all, to have one's own fiancé snatched away by another is a painful ordeal, so it is only natural for him to utter such extreme words. He then lowered his tone and shifted his demeanor, sneering as he said, but Zhang Fan, listen well. A person must possess a shred of self-respect and know their own place. Go and look in a mirror. Ask yourself what possible merit you have that makes you a match for Union. A man who cannot even provide the dowry. Do you truly harbor the delusion that you are worthy of marrying her? The entire hall erupted in mocking laughter. Shun clenched her hands into tight fists. Xu Yining stood to the side, letting out a soft sigh as she urged her sister, do not continue to be so naive. A woman may receive 1,000 words of protection, yet none are worth the feeling of security found in the strength of a man's back. Zhang Fan is simply not a match for you, not when compared to Chu Jianshen. Yao Shan became even more triumphant. He turned to ask his uncle and aunt, what are your thoughts on this matter? If you both are in agreement, then please accept these betrothal gifts. Let us set an auspicious date for the wedding ceremony. Wang Yingfeng agreed with immediate joy, but Xu Zhongyan furrowed his brows in deep concern. Chu Jianshen once nearly brought ruin upon Union, he thought. His character is utterly wretched, and he cannot compare to the man I have observed for 10 years. A Zhang Fan of upright conduct and character. Just as Xu Zhongyan hesitated, fearing the influence of Wang Yingfeng's maternal family, I stepped forward, calmly pulled out a thick stack of banknotes, and slammed them down heavily before Chu Jianshen. Everyone present, including Xu Yunyan, could not help but be shaken to their core. Xu Zhongyan approached in disbelief, checked the notes, and gasped in shock. 510,000 taels, what is this? Wang Yingfeng, unable to believe her eyes, snatched the stack of banknotes away. Could these possibly be counterfeit? 500,000 taels is a sum that the Hua family could not earn even in 3 years. Where would a useless good-for-nothing, living on the charity of others, ever obtain such wealth? Such an immense amount of money. Yet after a thorough inspection, the banknotes from the largest financial house in Gu City were proven to be entirely authentic. Hua Dining stared dumbfounded at the pile of banknotes. Could it be that he had truly achieved the impossible? Furthermore, the betrothal gifts were so abundant. Facing those stunned gazes, I calmly wrote a note and slammed it down before Chu Jianshen. You have lingered at the Qingyun sect for 5 years, so why are you even inferior to me? With 510,000 against 500,000, the victor was clearly decided. Chu Jianshen's face turned ghastly pale. He slammed the table and shouted in rage, Zhang Fan, what is the meaning of this? The corners of my mouth curled up slightly as I quickly wrote down, is my intention not already crystal clear? Does someone like you really think you are worthy of competing with me for Union? As those words left my lips, Hua Union, who had been dejected, suddenly blushed with shyness, her eyes flickering with a newfound emotion. Hua Dining could not help but feel a surge of admiration. Possessing 510,000 taels and being willing to offer one's entire fortune as a betrothal gift are two entirely different matters. It is clear just how important Hua Union is to Zhang Fan. Hui Zhongyan's face revealed his clear joy, and just as he intended to seize this opportunity to legitimize the marriage, Wang Yingfeng became so incensed that she lost her composure, waving her hand to scatter the banknotes across the floor. She glared at me and shouted, 510,000 taels of silver is still not enough. I have said it before, the betrothal gift must be one that satisfies me. And right now I am not satisfied, do you understand? Everyone in the clan understood perfectly well. She was not dissatisfied with the betrothal gift, she was dissatisfied with me. I felt no anger, but instead I flipped my hand and wrote another note. Indeed, I am also not satisfied. I brought out these 500,000 taels only to let you know that these material things are unworthy to be offered for the hand of the most exquisite woman in this world. Therefore, I ask that you open your eyes and stop acting like a pauper who has never seen money before. To be so blinded by a mere few 100,000 taels that you have forgotten your place. I directly mocked Wang Yingfeng to her face. This was far more painful. Zhang Fan had stirred a hatred in Wang Yunfeng that went down to her very bones. She shrieked in a fit of rage, "Who are you calling someone who has never seen money?" I gave a cold smirk and wrote down my response. Naturally, I am referring to someone who is currently destitute like you. Could it possibly be someone like me who possesses 510,000 taels of silver? Wang Yunfeng's fury erupted. She swung her hand, intending to strike me across the face, but was stopped by Xu Zhongyan, who shouted at her, "Do you have any dignity left at all?" Wang Yunfeng remained indignant and continued to shout in anger. She cursed at Zhang Flintz, "Closely, you have only 2 days remaining. If you fail to produce a betrothal gift that satisfies me, do not even dream of taking Xu Yuran away. Do not even entertain the thought." I calmly wrote back, "Rest assured, if my betrothal gift cannot satisfy you, then no one in this entire Guizhou city will be worthy of marrying Yuran." Chu Jianshan, who had been ignored until now, spoke up with a cold threat. "Let me see just how capable you really are. I am the young master of the third largest family in Guizhou city, and a disciple of the Qingyun sect. Am I truly inferior to a piece of trash like you? In 2 days I shall return to propose marriage. Just watch and see how Xu Yuran becomes mine. Let us go." The members of the Chu family awkwardly hauled their boxes of treasures back with them. Upon returning to the Chu estate, his mother Zhang Yushu asked in astonishment what had happened. After hearing her son lament the situation, she spoke up indignantly, "That is completely absurd. A mere guest living off others dares to compete with my exceptional son? Do not worry, my son. It is only a betrothal gift, is it not? I shall personally ensure that the betrothal gift is prepared perfectly for you. I must pay a visit to the Chen family today. At the Chen estate, their high-grade qi refining liquid has always been a rare find. It just so happens that the matriarch of the Chen family and I are longtime friends. My son accompany me tomorrow to acquire a few bottles. If you use this as your betrothal gift, that Zhang boy will have no choice but to watch helplessly from the sidelines." Chu Jianshan suddenly looked up, exclaiming in shock, "What did you say? Has our Guizhou city truly acquired the superior grade refinement liquid? Even within the Qingjun sect, that is a resource reserved only for the most outstanding disciples. Such spiritual liquid is intended only for those who possess the genuine qualifications to utilize it." Indeed, Zhang Yushu claimed that only 50 bottles are sold each day. Without exceptionally strong connections, it is fundamentally impossible to purchase one. Chu Jianshan frowned in concern, "But mother, only a 2-star soul master possesses the capability to refine such an item. How could a 2-star soul master possibly emerge within our small, insignificant Guizhou city?" This joke is not the least bit amusing. In my opinion, all of you have undoubtedly been deceived. Is this substance truly authentic or merely a fabrication? Tomorrow I shall take a look myself, and the truth will be immediately apparent. Seeing Yu Ran's face clouded with continuous sorrow, I poured a cup of the supreme-grade spiritual liquid and offered it to her, telling her to drink. As soon as she consumed it, she felt a sharp, needle-like pain piercing through her meridians. I swiftly handed her the secret manual I had prepared beforehand. "Follow this mental cultivation technique and begin your training." Aided by the supreme-grade spiritual liquid and the high-grade yellow-rank Qingfeng True Scripture, after only half a day she achieved a successful breakthrough. She exclaimed in astonishment, "This is already the 3rd layer of qi refining. Xiaofan, what exactly is this that you have given me to cultivate?" "These are all items that my father left behind for me." I handed her another cup of the spiritual liquid and sat beside her to enter a state of deep meditation. One early morning I took the newly refined spiritual liquid and headed straight for the Chen family estate. Right in front of the warehouse, Chen Xiaolin was hunched over, delicately taking stock of the medicinal herbs. Even her simple martial robes could not conceal her alluring curves. "Young miss, the senior has arrived." The shopkeeper spoke up to remind her. Chen Xiaolin hurriedly stood up and bowed respectfully. "Senior, you have finally arrived." I looked at the pile of ingredients scattered chaotically across the floor. "What is the meaning of this, senior?" "These are all medicinal herbs that have passed their expiration date, or they are varieties that, no matter what we do, cannot be sold. We have no choice but to discard them or sell them for next to nothing." I caught a glimpse of a red berry lying deep within the corner of a box, and my heart trembled uncontrollably. As it turns out, that is a Wangshuan fruit. Are you truly intending to discard a treasure as precious as this? This is the primary ingredient required to refine the 3rd-grade medicinal pill, known as the Huanyan pill. It possesses the miraculous ability to restore a woman's youth and vitality. Such an item has been exceedingly rare and difficult to find for ages. Senior, your knowledge is truly profound. Chen Xiling approached, surrounded by a faint, fragrant scent. She sighed and said, "This is indeed the main ingredient for the world-renowned Huanyan pill. But it is a pity that it is a 3rd-grade medicinal pill. In this world, there is practically no one with the capability to refine it." I smiled and spoke indifferently, "Just hand them all over to me." I calmly countered by asking, since she intended to sell them, why not give them to me instead? I would refine them into Huanyan pills, and when the time comes, I shall give you one as a token of my gratitude. What do you think? Upon hearing this, Chen Xiling looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She exclaimed in shock, "Are you truly a 3rd-grade soul master? Within the territory of the Qingyun sect, a 3rd-grade soul master is a transcendental existence, one to whom even the sect master would have to kowtow and respect. I am not entirely certain of my own limits, but I must attempt a refinement to find out. Prepare a secret chamber for me." After the high-grade spiritual herbs were handed over, I slowly stepped into the secret chamber. At this moment, Chu Jiansheng and his mother were heading toward the warehouse under the escort of the Chen family matriarch, Lu Qinmin. Chen Xiling stood guard at the entrance, her heart filled with dread as she desperately tried to block their path. "Aunt Zhang, young Master Chu, I am afraid I cannot allow you to pass through here at this time. I humbly ask for your forgiveness." Lu Qinmin, seeing her daughter failing to properly receive their esteemed guests, could not hide her displeasure. Chen Xiling, do not be rude. What could possibly be more important than greeting young Master Chu? Chu Jiancheng, captivated by Chen Xiling's delicate temperament, ignored the matriarch and spoke with a cold edge. Miss Chen, could it be that you hold some grievance against me? Young master, there is a senior soul master currently inside refining elixirs. Chen Xiling stood her ground, refusing to move an inch. Please forgive me for being unable to attend to you, but I must avoid disturbing the senior who is inside. A senior soul master? Chu Jiang curled his lips into a cold smile, his eyes. As a disciple of the Qingyun sect, he could not believe that a soul master of the second rank or higher could possibly exist in this dilapidated city. He immediately strode forward. What a convenient coincidence. Let us go. I wish to see how this fraudulent soul master will be exposed. Very well. He let out a cold snort, his voice firm and sharp. Who is bold enough to feign divinity and play tricks before me, Chu Jiansheng? I shall force them to reveal their true colors immediately. While I was in the secret chamber focusing on refining medicine, the commotions outside were heard by me with crystal clarity. Chu Jianxing looked ahead, carefully producing a vial of medicinal liquid, his tone unable to conceal his smug arrogance. He declared loudly, "This is a gift personally bestowed upon me by a second-rank soul master of the Qingyun sect. It is the legendary superior-grade refining liquid. I have cherished it, unable to bear consuming even a single drop, but today to prevent Lady Chen from being deceived by a scoundrel, I must put it to use. Are you truly willing to use such a precious treasure?" Chen Xiling could not help but show signs of immense astonishment. Lu Qingming's mother also worriedly advised Xilin with all her might. Did young Master Chu not make it clear just now? The second-rank soul master whom our Chen family has associated with for so long is likely nothing more than a reputation-stealing fraud. Even Elder Yang Tentuzi has begun to express his doubts. Why would an exalted second-rank soul master deign to lower himself by staying in a small city like Zhuchou? Quickly, bring out a vial of the refining liquid. By comparing it to this authentic superior-grade refining liquid, the line between the true and the false will be drawn instantly. Taking advantage of the wavering hearts of the crowd, Chu Jiansheng fanned the flames, fabricating lies about dishonest merchants peddling fake medicine at the Blood Mansion Palace, which left Chen Xilin shaken to her core. Lu Qingming's face turned deathly pale from terror. She hurriedly urged Xilin, "What are you still hesitating for? Your father is lying bedridden with a serious illness. You must not allow even the slightest error to occur." Chen Xilin, having no other choice, took out the vial of medicinal liquid I had given her earlier. Her voice trembled as she asked how the comparison was to be conducted. Chu Jiansheng produced 2 seeds that resembled lotus seeds. He explained that these were the seeds of the elephant-scale flower. By nature, this flower is extremely sensitive to the spiritual energy of the world, traditionally used to accurately determine the grade of refining liquid. One only needs to drip the liquid onto it, and it will sprout to different heights based on the amount of spiritual energy it absorbs. That is how the quality of the refining liquid is distinguished. He paused for a moment, his voice suddenly turning cold. Naturally, if the liquid used were merely for refining qi, the seed would show absolutely no reaction. If Miss Chen has no further questions, then let us begin. Chu Jianshan first poured his own spiritual essence over the seeds. After 17 breaths had passed for one of those seeds, the seed suddenly sprouted, growing 3 inches high. He wore a triumphant smile. 1 inch of growth indicates low-grade qi refining liquid, 2 inches indicates mid-grade, and 3 inches is the legendary true high-grade qi refining liquid. Miss Chen, it is your turn now. Chen Xilin bit her red lips tightly in anxiety. She slowly poured her spiritual liquid, but after 3 breaths the seed remained completely motionless. Chen Xilin's face turned as pale as parchment while Chu Jianshan put on an expression of a great benefactor. He smiled faintly and addressed her, "Miss Chen, it is fortunate that I arrived in time. Otherwise, the Chen family would have been dragged into an abyss far too deep. There is still an opportunity to turn things around." Lu Qinmin's figure swayed, struggling to remain standing. She said with a trembling voice, "Many thanks, young Master Chu. Otherwise my Chen family would have fallen into a state of eternal ruin. You have truly bestowed a grace upon our family as vast as the heavens. Please allow this old woman to pay her respects." Chu Jianshan struck a pose of elegant courtesy and hurriedly helped her up, taking the opportunity to express his affections to the matriarch. "You are far too polite. Silent and I felt like old friends the moment we met. I could not bear to watch her become a sinner of your lineage." Lu Qinmin immediately stepped in to assist, intent on bringing the two together. She grabbed Chen Xilin's hand and pushed her directly into Chu Jianshan's arms. "Quickly take young Master Chu for a stroll through our gardens." Chen Xilin was stunned as if struck by lightning and struggled to break free, but Lu Qinmin barked at her. "Young Master Chu has sacrificed an entire bottle of high-grade Danjing sect elixir for your sake. Do you still not understand the depth of his affection? Furthermore, young Master Chu is the savior of our entire Chen family. He has saved dozens of us, from the highest to the lowest. Is it not only right that you show him your deepest gratitude?" Just as Chen Xilin was on the verge of despair, she glanced over, then firmly brushed her mother's hand aside and shouted with joy, "It's moving." Has this seed finally stirred? Lu Qinmin and Zhang Yuxiu turned their heads in unison, their expressions filled with genuine astonishment. It had truly moved. Chu Jianshan watched with a shock that rattled his very core, seeing the seed that had remained dormant until now, beginning to sway incessantly as it swelled in size. At this moment he was both stunned and secretly incensed, watching the beauty who was nearly within his grasp, only to have the seed suddenly show such a reaction. His mood at this instant was like a passionate encounter, abruptly interrupted by an intruder. He let out an extremely irritated cold snort. Mere movement did not signify anything. It only served to prove that this seed was a counterfeit. It was common for there to be a negligible amount of spiritual energy within the refining liquid. However, no sooner had his words faded than the seed, now swollen to its limit, split open and sprouted. A vibrant emerald green sprout stretched forth, growing with immense vigor. 1 inch, then 2 inches. It had already reached 3 inches. A look of boundless joy suddenly ignited on Chen Silin's face. She cried out in excitement, "Mother, look, it is truly 3 inches. This is indeed a superior grade refining liquid. He did not deceive us." Chu Jianshan could not believe his own eyes. How could this be possible? How could a second-rank soul master exist within the territory of the Qingyun sect? Could it be that this superior grade refining liquid was something he had obtained from the Qingyun sect via the black market? After weighing his thoughts, he concluded that this was the only plausible explanation. But at that very moment, Chen Silin covered her mouth and gasped, "Wait, it is still continuing to grow." Everyone turned their gaze toward it. Sure enough, the sprout was still slowly elongating, not stopping until it reached 3.5 inches. Chen Silin clenched her fists in excitement. Does 3.5 inches not mean that the senior residing in our home has refined a type of superior grade refining liquid, whose quality far surpasses even that of the Qingyun sect's soul master? Zhang Yushi was stunned into a daze. Did you not say that the Chen family's soul master was a fraud? Why is it that the spirit refining liquid he produced is not only authentic, but possesses an Chu Jianshan was momentarily rendered speechless, his gaze fixed intently on the secret chamber, directed toward the elusive second-grade soul master within. He no longer dared to show even a shred of disrespect, yet having been humiliated in front of everyone, he remained unwilling to yield, muttering under his breath. Even if he truly is a second-grade soul master, he is not necessarily stronger than the seniors of our Qingyun sect. The seniors at the Qingyun sect have weathered 100 battles. Perhaps this person merely stumbled upon the right quality by chance. He is only slightly superior, nothing more. Even Chen Silin, who held Jiang Fan in high esteem, found these words to hold a measure of logic. The senior soul master of the Qingyun sect had long been renowned throughout the world, while this individual was still far too young. To rely solely on a bottle of refinement fluid was not enough to prove he surpassed the veterans of the Qingyun sect. But at that very moment, a loud rumble suddenly erupted from within the tightly sealed chamber, and waves of pale pink mist began to drift slowly outward. They dissipated, gradually merging into the surrounding air. A refreshing and elegant medicinal fragrance instantly enveloped the entire backyard. Having inhaled but a single breath of that pure aroma, the two noble ladies, Jiangshu and Liu Qinmin, wore expressions of pure fascination on their faces. What manner of treasure is this? It resembles the beauty-nourishing salves we often use, but this medicinal scent is 10,000 times more profound and noble. The high-end beauty products they frequented suddenly seemed crude, inferior, and common in the presence of this fragrance. Chu Jianshen could not help but exclaim in confusion. The senior soul masters of the Qingyun sect once said that the higher the grade of an elixir, the more potent and pure the fragrance released upon its completion. Sister Silin, what kind of spirit elixir is this senior refining? Chen Silin was also struck dumb, frozen in place. She stared into the secret chamber, unable to tear her eyes away, and replied in a tone she herself could scarcely believe. He said he intended to refine the Huanyan pill. Chu Jianshin had never heard the name of such a pill, but Zhang Shushu was so shocked she cried out, "Could it be the legendary spirit elixir capable of turning gray hair black, restoring the skin to its youthful radiance as it was in the beginning, known as the Huanyan pill?" Liu Qinmin's voice trembled with overwhelming excitement. "Silin, you must not joke about such things. This is a precious third-grade spirit elixir. In this entire world, there is no one else capable of refining such a thing. This type of medicinal pill holds a fatal temptation for women of a certain age, one that is impossible to resist." Trantu Lin recounted that the senior had taken the medicinal herbs. The master of Wangjuan Cave stated he intended to refine the Honnan Dan. He even promised to give me 1 pill as payment for the raw materials. It is only unclear whether this item before us is truly the Honnan Dan. Lu Tanman was overjoyed beyond measure. Grabbing her daughter by the shoulders, she asked, "Did he truly promise to give you one?" "Excellent, truly excellent, my good daughter. You have brought your mother such an enormous surprise. Allowing you to manage the family business was truly the most correct decision of my life." In years past, her mother had adamantly opposed her taking over the family estate, causing a deep rift in their relationship. Yet now, all because of a single Honnan Dan, her attitude had shifted a full 180 degrees. This caused the corner of Trantulin's eye to twitch in weariness. Trantuling was startled and hurriedly said, "This cannot be. This item is far too precious." At that very moment, the stone door of the secret chamber slowly creaked open. Amidst the faint, pale mist, I stared at the 3 Honwin Dan resting in my palm, 1 of superior grade and 2 of inferior grade. I intended to use the superior grade pill as a birthday gift, and I would give 1 of the inferior grade pills to Trantu Ling. As for the remaining 1, it could certainly be sold for profit, so I stowed 2 away and placed the final inferior grade Honwin Dan into a jade vial. I slowly stepped out of the secret chamber. Only then did I realize that in the courtyard, aside from Trantulin's family, there were 3 other people present. Among them was none other than Chu Qian, the man who had contested the inferior grade spirit pill with me yesterday. "Senior, I wonder how the refinement of the medicinal pill went?" Trantulin asked tentatively and with great caution. I smiled faintly, tossed the jade vial toward him, and said, "This is yours." Tran Tu Ling hurriedly caught it and cast his gaze inside. Even through the jade vial, he could still sense the extraordinary aura of the medicinal pill. So this is truly the Hon Non Dan. Luton Man was overcome with excitement. She snatched the vial away and exclaimed, "It is truly it. The patterns on this are identical to what your grandfather once sketched. Good daughter, why don't you give it to mother?" Upon hearing this, Tran Tu Ling was left speechless and could only remain silent. He did not harbor the slightest doubt that if he dared to refuse, his mother would immediately sever their maternal bond. "You had best ask for the senior's opinion." Tran Tu Ling dared not decide for himself, so I replied indifferently, "Since I gave it to you, you may decide its fate yourself." Having said that, I lifted my feet and departed from that place. Zhang Yushu hurriedly bowed, lowering her head respectfully as she spoke. "Senior, might you still have a remaining soul-restoring pill?" Chen Xilin also stepped forward to assist, adding, "Senior, this is Lady Chu. Her son is a disciple of the Qingyun sect. Could you grant us the favor of selling her one soul-restoring pill?" "The mother of Chu Jianshan?" I smiled enigmatically. Seeing that I had yet to respond, Chu Jianshan, previously quite fervent, suddenly threw himself to the ground before me. He cried out as if worshipping a deity. "Chu Jianshan, disciple of the Qingyun sect, pays his respects to Senior." To him, Zhang Fan was a soul master capable of refining third-grade spirit pills. This meant that my standing within the ranks of soul masters had already reached the third grade. This was a transcendental existence, one that the Qingyun sect had never possessed. Chu Jianshan immediately realized that if he let this great master slip through his fingers, he would remain forever buried at the bottom of the mediocre path of martial arts. His heart hammered against his ribs as if it were about to burst. Trembling and stuttering, he uttered, "Senior, this junior has long held the utmost admiration for the prowess of a soul master. I am willing to offer the entire wealth of the Chu family, begging Senior to accept me as your disciple." No matter how abrupt this request might seem, or how much of a fool he might appear to be, he no longer cared in the slightest. I looked down at him coldly from above, disappointment coloring my icy tone. "You are not qualified," I said, before turning decisively to leave. Zhang Yushu, panicked, struck her son across the face with a fiery slap and roared, "Have you lost your mind? Do you not look at your own standing before daring to dream of climbing the ladder to cling to this senior? This is a third-grade soul master, a guest of honor even in the eyes of our sect master. Chu Jianshan truly does not know the meaning of life or death." He hurriedly chased after me to plead for mercy. "Senior, please calm your anger. This rebellious son of mine has never seen the world. As for the soul-restoring pill, could you please show mercy and make an exception?" Chen Xilin also looked at Chu Jianshan with intense disdain. She bowed respectfully toward me, pleading gently, "Senior, could you perhaps show some consideration for our Chen family? I will sell one more soul-restoring pill." I was certain that Lady Chu would be willing to pay any price. I pondered deeply. It seemed this medicinal pill was even more. After a moment of deliberation, I retrieved a low-grade Wanyan pill and handed it to Commander Tran. It was indeed my final pill, though I had yet to fully grasp its true value. "Very well, let the Tran family host an auction for it. Whoever offers the highest price shall claim it." Commander Tran gasped in astonishment, his hands trembling as he gripped the elixir vial tightly. His heart raced with immense agitation, for this was the legendary incurable Wanyan pill. Once the auction begins, the noble ladies of Guju City will surely fall into a state of frenzy over it. This is the perfect opportunity for the Tran family to drastically elevate their standing. After I departed, Zhang Yushu no longer had the composure to worry about her son's injuries. She seized Chu Jianshan and hurried away immediately. "Return to the manor at once and gather every bit of silver. Even if it costs us our entire fortune, I must secure this Wanyan pill." Upon my return to the Su estate, Shu Yuran was anxiously searching for me. "Xiao Fan, have you heard the news? The Tran family is going to auction a Wanyan pill in Guju City. The noble ladies everywhere are whispering about it to the point of madness. Word is that even the city lord's wife had a massive falling out with the city lord over this very matter." I gently touched my nose and offered a bitter smile. I had not even crossed the threshold, and the news had already spread throughout the entire city. Yuran sighed softly. "I suddenly remembered how father has exhausted himself for the sake of the Shu family over these years, causing his health to fade so significantly. If only we could possess the Wanyan pill, how wonderful that would be." I offered a sincere smile filled with hope. As we spoke, Shu Zhengyan signaled to us furtively from the corner of the wall. As we approached, he produced a stack of scattered silver banknotes and hurriedly pressed them into Yuran's hands. The total amount must have exceeded 100,000 taels. "Father, what is the meaning of this?" Yuran exclaimed in surprise. Su Zhengyan's voice was heavy with both shame and concern. "This is the private savings I have accumulated over these long years. I originally intended to set it aside so that the two of you could live a comfortable life after your marriage. I never expected your stepmother to impose such stringent demands. Take this money and go to the auction tomorrow. Ensure you secure that medicinal pill." He sighed softly and turned his gaze toward me, his eyes carrying a rare sense of approval. "If you can use it as a betrothal gift, her stepmother will certainly be compelled to give her consent for the sake of that pill. Accompany Yuran to the auction tomorrow. It is my sincerest wish that the one who marries her in the end